Had one 3-hour race for the Proto Series cars, LMP2s, LMP3s and CN1s combined on the grid. The result from yesterday's race, which finished at 6 o'clock local time, 6 p.m. and pretty much in darkness, determines the grid for today's race. So that sees the sole LMP2 car on the grid. No, actually, we are keeping our fingers crossed that we will have another LMP2 car, in fact, as part of our 8-car field. The man, though, that can tell us a little bit more on that subject, joining Johnny Palmer and Nick Damon, is Joe Bradley down on the grid. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the grid for the second of our 24H Proto Series races. The races that we're going to see our prototype categories race another time. A little bit of a different time for race start, bit of a brisk morning, but the sun is rising, and already we've got ambient temperatures of over 20 degrees, which is going to be all important to making these cars work. Let's have a walk onto the grid and have a chat to some people and see who's about. We've got the pole position car, the car that won right at the very end of yesterday's race. It left it right to the very end to actually take the lead and then go on to victory. And quite by magic, everyone's disappeared. Who's in this car? You're a driver. I recognise you, but you haven't got any overalls on. Who are you again?
Jordan Sanders.
You're Jordan. You're the man who did everything yesterday. That was a cracking race. You must have really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was a good end. As I said yesterday, thanks to Mike and all the people at Ginetta and Simpson Motorsport for letting me jump ship the last minute. But it was a fun way to end a tough race.
Now, I'll just explain to our viewers that by jumping ship, you were down for the number 4 car, which had a mechanical problem with the chassis. Now, I believe the team have been working feverishly and have is that right, the car's done some laps already?
Yeah, they worked throughout the night last night to try and get the chassis repaired, and they've done 2 or 3 laps this morning just to check that everything's okay for the race. And yeah, they should be out for the race.
Right, so you're back in your number 4 car.
Not sure. I think we're sticking in the number 6 car, and Mike and Charlie, the 2 Ginetta drivers, and Simon Murray are going to be in the number 4 car for this race.
I mean, the saying is it only takes 2 cars to make a race. Did you believe going into yesterday's race that it would have been an exciting finish and that you had all the work to do?
No, I think we thought it would be quite a quiet race. Neil and John both did a great job at the start of the race, but with the full course yellow and some of the pit stops, we found ourselves 40 seconds behind with 30 minutes to go. So it was quite a challenge to pull that back. Even with the power difference, it's still difficult on old tyres and full fuel. So yeah, it made for an exciting end. But yeah, hopefully we can have some more action in today's race. And
Jordan, from where we were sitting, standing, whatever we were doing, you kind of become a little bit complacent watching you do your job, but you still had to press the pedals at the right time and turn the steering wheel. How much pressure did you have just chasing that lead car down?
Yeah, there was quite a bit of pressure at the end, but it's what we do, isn't it? You know, you just got to keep pushing every lap. Yeah, and we managed to get it in the end, which is good.
Cool, Jordan Sanders there, say that. Well done, congratulations, and hope you have a great day today. Now, the car that it was chased down was the number 44. Michael Broniszewski was at the wheel. Gian Pacini was also in the car. How robbed do you guys feel yesterday by this number 6 coming up upon you?
Yeah, we knew that the car was coming. The car is much faster. Michael had already almost 2 stints on the tires, so it's already amazing what he did. And yeah, okay, with a little bit more luck, we could have won overall, but we are more than happy than what we did. It was the maximum we could have done.
I can't see your name because your belt's hidden. Which of the drivers are you? You're Michael. Michael, you knew the car. You're the guy who was at the wheel of this car when this number 6. It was an impossible ask because that car's much faster on the straight. Did you know that was going to happen?
Yeah, of course I knew. And this is around 100 horsepower more on the straight. It's nothing to do, you know. Blocking is too risky. My tires was finished on the front. I afraid to lose more than, you know, just one position to lose the car in the corner. That's why we try to do our best, but there was no chance.
So from that, do you just go out and just stick to the plan and just stick with your race?
Sure, of course. This is our category. This is our target. Of course, to win the P2 would be great, and without losing so much time yesterday with some restart and driver change, which took us around 2 minutes, should be easily in the front.
Thank you, guys. Good luck. Here's to a race just like yesterday, because from us, it was fantastic to watch. Let's have a wander down to the second row and 3rd place in the race, and even 4th place, even more so. but third place is the number 98. Now that is the Craft Racing Norma. Where are our drivers? So this car is in the C1 class, and the C1 class, as you can see, open type sports car, and to have this car finish third overall was quite a feat for these guys to beat the prototypes, the P1s and the P3s, which carry much more aero. There's still a lot of aero in this car. Just look at the design of the features of this car. It's carrying a lot of aerodynamic downforce in this. Now, a man that I want to speak to is the man behind the series, Ola Doleman from Creventic. Ola, you're the operations manager for the prototype series. I'm not sure if I've got the title right, but it sounds right, doesn't it?
Something
All right,
like that.
tell us a little bit about the prototype series and what we expect for 2018.
Well, we're looking forward to a total of 5 races. With this race kicking off as the starter of our champion of the Continents Championship for the prototypes, a triple header of 3-hour races in Portimao in July, and a triple header of 3-hour races in Austin, Texas in November. And we're also having the European Championship of 12-hour races in Silverstone and Navarra, and the Portimao race. It's part of both championships.
And I suppose running any championship across 3 continents, spanning the globe, that must be an operational nightmare.
Well, we managed it last year already, and we're confident to manage it this year again. It's not going to be easy for us. It's going to be a lot of hard work, but we've got enough self-confidence to proudly state that we will be able to do it again.
What does it say on the back of my jacket? Dare to cross borders.
Yeah.
And hashtag this is endurance. Thanks, Ola.
Yeah.
It's great to see this grid of cars. We've got no drivers down here for the 90. It would have been nice to speak to somebody from the CM1 class. We have got the Radical, which came 4th overall, 2nd in the CM1 class. And because we've opened up a microphone, it seems that we've lost our drivers now. Then he's hiding here, Seb. You see this driver? He's down to drive the 177. I'm going to see who he is. Right. Have I got Salim Al Nassif? Where's your name? Oh, are you 3 drivers? Yeah. Yes. You're hiding in the sun. You're starting the car. You're Mohammed Al Nassif. Yes. Congratulations, guys. That Radical should not be on the 2nd row of this grid, should it? How do you guys feel right now?
Well, it was great. We just kept our head down, and now we're P4. That's really great. We didn't think we were going to be up here, but we are. Yeah.
Now, before yesterday, you guys had only ever done like 20-minute, 30-minute races.
Yes.
So that must have been a new experience for you, being in the car for almost an hour.
It is. We thought it was going to be really difficult on the neck, on the arms, on the shoulders, but I feel fine, and I left the car yesterday not feeling too much exhaustion. I was pretty good, and yeah.
So I must ask you guys, I'll ask you, obviously, you're the one with the overall, so you're taking driver duties. Going into yesterday, did you guys do anything differently in preparation from a physical aspect? Did you train more? Did I see you in the gym more?
We did go to the gym, but we also we did a 12-hour kart race, right, which is really demanding. We thought it was less demanding, but it's much more. We were out of it when we finished the race. And I think it helped. The neck, the arms, the grip, the forearm, and I think that did the trick.
I think karting's much harder than this kind of racing. Congratulations, guys. That's a great 4th place. What are you hoping for today? Today's another 2 races, but we'll start with this morning.
We're going with the same strategy. We're just going to do our race. We can't get them by pace, so we're just going to be focusing on our own race and see what happens at the end.
Hit your apexes, that's the saying, isn't it? Yeah. Well done, Mohammed. Congratulations, and good luck for the rest of the day. I'm going to take my sunglasses off because it's in the shade. It's a little bit different. Let's have a walk onto the grid and further down. We'll go on to the 3rd row. Well spaced out we have. Now we've got the number 48, which is the Spirit of Race Ligier. It's in the P3 class. Again, no drivers to be found anywhere. But this car is one of our competitive entries, but it had a pretty torrid first stint, and that put it down the field, and then it was on a bit of a recovery drive. I'm going to ask a question of this chap here, because he's wearing a green tabard. Oh, come with me. I've got a question to ask you. This is a new regulation for Creventic. You're the man wearing the green tabard. Now, what the significance of that is, driver assist. During the pit, sorry, what's your name firstly?
I'm Nicola.
Sorry?
Nicola.
Nicola, so the driver assist aspect of your role during the pit stop is you haul the driver out and push the next driver in. Is it as simple as that?
Yeah, it's easy.
But the gap in the door is really tight, and it must be, it's a pretty responsible job you've got.
Yes, it's not so easy, but we training to read the championship, and now is more easy.
And so you practice?
Yeah, practice, training, all day.
And you can handle the pressure, Nicola? You can handle the pressure? You can handle the pressure of getting the driver in and out?
It's my
Great.
job.
You can handle the pressure of being interviewed on the grid, which is something your drivers can't, because they've all... Where are your drivers, by the way? Where are your drivers?
My driver is Apple.
Ah, is that them? Is that your guys there? Right. Right, let's find the drivers for the 48. They're just having a bit of a chat. Who's in the 48 car? Who's in the 48?
Don't know.
Hang on, I've got your names here.
Yes, maybe there.
Right, this guy there. Then I'm coming back to you guys. Let's have a walk across. I've got Pier Giuseppe Parazzini. Pier Giuseppe. Ciao.
Ciao.
You looking forward to this morning's race?
Please?
You're looking forward to the race?
Yes, I hope very well, because potentially we have the possibility to win our category. Depends from the situation. Yesterday, one of our drivers did 2 or 3 errors in the first laps, in the first 3 laps, probably for the tires. The tires was cold. And so we lost 7 laps. And the race was totally difficult. So today I start, and then I hope to do well.
Your teammate, Marco Ciocci, put in the fastest lap of the race. Now that shows the capabilities of the car. So your team must be hoping for a better result today.
Yes, Marco is very, very fast. Also, Rui Aguas are 2 fast drivers. With them, we can do a good job.
I hope you do. Congratulations and well done. Good luck for today, Pier Giuseppe. Now we've got a gaggle of drivers here. I'm hoping some of them are from the 97 Kraft Norma. Good morning, chaps. How are we? Are you in the 97?
No, he's in the
You are? So you're standing around in race suits. So what's your cars?
My car is a Norma 98.
Ah, right, I've been looking for you. And you are?
François Kierman.
Francois, that car should not be on the second row of this grid, should it really? A C1 car coming 3rd overall. You must be very pleased with that.
Yes, we had a very good race yesterday without any mechanical problems. Without problems, the car was very well prepared by the Craft Racing, so no problem. And we hope we can make the same today.
Performance-wise, the CN1 Norma is a very strong car aerodynamically. Is it just the engine that lets it down against the P3s?
Yes, the engine, the P3 is 200 more horsepower, so it will be very hard at the beginning, and it will be a good fight, I think, for this race again, and especially at the start.
And so you guys are just going to go out and just stick with... You're not going to try and chase these people down. You're just going to stick with what you plan.
Yes, we will do it.
Great stuff. Well done, Francois, and best of luck for the race. Now then, have we any drivers from the 97? That's you. It's David Christini, is that right? Yes. So, again, the CN1 cars beating prototypes.
Yeah.
The plan is to do that again.
Yeah, but yesterday we have a big problem. We broke some caoutchouc come into the oil motors, and we broke the engine. So we have to change the engine. We could not finish the race yesterday.
So that was, if I could see, were you in the car at the time when that happened? Who was the...
No, it was my colleague. My colleague was in the car.
Come. Sorry, what was your name again?
I speak English.
Oh, you speak. What I was going to say, if you'd like to translate to your colleague, was you could tell the sadness of the car stopping looking at your eyes in your helmet. It was a tragedy. We were all felt so much for you.
La tristesse dans le casque avec ton visage. Yeah, he was angry because last year we had exactly the same problem at the same moment, about 20 minutes before the end of the race, and we was at the same position. We was first in our category last year, and we broke at the same moment. So this year it was the same. So we said, oh my God, we have not chance, but we are here now. We repair. This year we can repair. We change the engine. So we hope that today it will be better.
So the tactic is not to put Max Bortolami in the car at the end of the race because it seems he has got some kind of curse.
Yeah, maybe.
You may want to translate that.
Yeah, il dit certainement il faut pas que tu prennes le volant de la voiture parce que ça fait 2 fois que tu tombes en panne. Yeah, but this year he will not finish the race. He will be in the middle because he never drive because after 20 minutes the engine broke.
Yes, sorry. Max, it can't happen again. Good luck for the rest of the race, guys. It's great to see the C1 cars, Max. Bad luck for Max. It really was a despondent-looking Max. That was you could peer through that slot in his helmet as the car just ground to a halt right on the pit wall, just on the pit wall there, and everybody felt so badly for it. Now, the 22 car is another car that had problems that befell it. Who's the guy in charge? You, sir, right now. I'm talking about the number 22 Speedworks car. You guys had, you're Christian, aren't you? Christian Dick, yeah, the team principal. Christian, just give us an idea of what happened to the car. As far as we were aware, it was a drive shaft issue?
Correct, yeah. So the inner CV joint on the right rear drive shaft gave up the ghost as Kai was leaving the fueling area.
And we believe, as soon as we spoke to your driver, it was probably sort of over a period of time that it was going, and then the pit stop didn't do it any favours, did it?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I think you're probably right. It would have been one of those things that's just it's fatigued. It started to pick up a little bit of a problem, and eventually just shattered one of the components inside of that CV joint. Very unfortunate.
Today's another day. You guys are very experienced in putting cars back together. You've familiar team in British touring cars, so boxing and patching cars up is the thing that you do. You've had a lot of time to do this one, though, so you're happy with it?
Yeah, very happy. I mean, the drive shaft itself is quite a straightforward affair. Obviously, last night we went through the car again with a fine-tooth comb. We don't want any more failures today. We've got a good driver lined up. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, great stuff. So are we. Well, congratulations, and congratulations to the team for putting the car back together again. Great job. We'll look forward to seeing the car doing a lot better than it did yesterday, and hopefully it'll hold together. That's pretty much covered the grid, but there's one man that I'd like to speak to before you leave us. I think we've got time for it. Let me just check my watch. Yes, we have. We've got about another couple of minutes before we clear the grid. So I'm going to walk all the way to the front, and I want to talk to Martin van der Pattert, who was our chief steward, clerk of the course. I'm not really sure what Creventic called the man in charge, but he's at the front of the grid here, and I'm just going to have a word with him. And this is the man here, Seb. This is the very man that I need to speak to, the man in charge.
Thank you. Good morning.
Mr. Van Pattert, what are you looking for today? We had a couple of penalties yesterday for, I believe, speeding under code 60.
Yeah.
How do you measure that? How do you measure someone speeding?
We measure all the loops that we have. So in the pit lane exit, pit lane to the first intermediate, between the intermediates. So we can take the sector times, we can take the pit out, pit in time, we can take all the loops for measuring speed. And we also give a document to the team so they exactly know what we measure.
I see, so it's time over distance equals speed, so 5 minutes and 23 seconds would be 60 Ks all the way around this circuit.
Yes, and if you go out of the pit lane into the start-finish line, then it's 5 minutes to 2 seconds. Right. So the team yesterday was about 48 seconds faster, so we doubled then the gain time, and that's the penalty. So it was 97 seconds penalty.
Now, Martin, we've got a smaller grid than we're perhaps used to, yes, but that doesn't detract at all from the situation and you managing this race.
We manage it exactly the same way. We treat everybody in the same way. We look at it the same way. For us, it should be the same all the time.
Absolutely. Martin, here's to a good race. I hope everyone has a fair and safe race. I think we've got to clear the grid, guys, so I'll hand back up there, Seb. That's where the boys are.
It certainly is, and we are waving, I assure you, but can't quite see from that angle. There is another camera, though, over towards where the podium is positioned that was utilised a couple of times yesterday as well. If you joined us, by the way, for yesterday's coverage, you will know that today, this morning, it's a very slightly different lineup. Well, same lineup, but just we've arranged ourselves differently. So Nick has joined myself, Johnny Palmer, in the box, and Joe, therefore, is on grid walk and pit lane duties.
Fantastic. I get to sit down for 20 minutes before anything to work and just listen to Joe being quite brilliant, but more importantly, the most tactile interviewer ever.
This is one of my favourite times of the day because
really?
if Nick stands up and I stand up, we can wave at you. So we really are in this box. It's not just a kind of voice from the ether. And this is a fabulous view of the track that we have. Can we zoom out from that point of view? Yes, we can. We are immediately above the U of Dubai Autodrome, of the Autodrome bit, and therefore the back of the grandstand on the 3rd floor, very nicely high up here, and because of the circuit, the nature of the circuit, it is right out in front of us, so there's virtually no corner that we can't see, apart from turn 11, which ducks down very slightly behind the return leg from 12 back to 13. But otherwise, even if we are focusing on one particular battle on the live stream, we can have eyes elsewhere and report on potential breakdowns. We had a couple of those at turns 5 and 6 yesterday. So, it was, despite us only having 7 cars yesterday, it was action-packed throughout. There were spins, there were breakdowns, there was need to retrieve cars to the pit lane on the end of tow ropes, and we had that pretty much grandstand finish as well, with an LMP2 car hunting down the then LMP3 leader from Graf Racing, and Michael Broniszewski did his level best to hold back a hard-charging Jordan Sanders. So we'll wait to see what this race has in store for us. This will take us from 9 a.m. local time through till midday. We'll then have 3 hours of, to a certain extent, mechanicking time, I suppose, but there's very little you could do.
Well, actually, 2 hours, because the pit lane opens again at 2.
Yes,
and they're open the grid by 2:30.
And then you're not going to get your car back in bang on 12 o'clock, because there'll be one extra lap, effectively, to get everyone across the line to see the checkered flag. And then the slowing down lap, so it's probably going to be about 20 past 12 by the time the cars return to the garages. An hour and 40 minutes to do anything meaningful to turn the cars around for the final race of this weekend. So the format's changed from 2017, where there were proto races on the bill, but they were, I think, Tuesday and Wednesday races.
They were, just before the main 24-hour event, which is obviously still happening next weekend, Friday and Saturday. The United Arab World Weekend is a Friday and Saturday, so we race over from 2 o'clock in the afternoon local time, which is 10 o'clock in the UK, and other time zones are available, I'm sure, greatly described on Twitter where they are.
We are GMT +4. So do the relevant calculations from that. But I know this race is particularly Antipodean friendly. Good morning to... No, sorry, good evening to you guys. Good afternoon, I can't remember.
Hello.
I think we're coming up to about 3 o'clock in somewhere like Sydney.
The thing is, Australia's got about 4 time zones, so it's quite big.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you to various people on Twitter yesterday who basically educated Joe and I about how to measure what time zone each person is in around the globe. We'll go away and research that.
Now, the interesting thing about this race is, as you said, we only got 7 cars, but I think as you start on the grid, we have... Well, the 8th car hasn't yet to officially join. Ooh. It is still being served in the pit lane. It'll be a pit lane start if it does start, which is the number 4, the Charlie Robinson Simpson Motorsport car, the Ginetta, which had the chassis damage yesterday. But of these 7 cars, you have to say, with the correct combination of drivers, which is absolutely key, as we found, there's 4 potential winners, Johnny. In the 3 P3s and the Jordan Sanders number 6 Simpson Motorsport team. Certainly the Graf car almost won with Broniszewski and Piccini. The Spirit of Race car was the fastest of all. That was a 48-litre JS3, the car with the green colour scheme, the Italian flag colour scheme, green, white and red. Certainly if they get their driver combination right, once again, they would be absolutely up there with it. And of course, the car that probably would have won, ifs and buts, if it hadn't been for that drive shaft failure, which is the 22 car of Speedways Motorsport, being started by Kay Van Berdo, the 17-year-old Dutchman who has driven a couple of Porsches, but most of the time he's just driven karts.
Yeah. So certainly first prototype experience this weekend, and that was had yesterday in free practice yesterday morning.
Actually, the Simpson Motorsport car, the driver ID has changed. It's being started by Neil Muston. So if you look at that is the fastest car, the G57, the P2 car, probably an absolute ultimate pace with the top driver, a couple of seconds a lap, perhaps 3 seconds a lap fast around here. But certainly in yesterday's race, it started off being run by John Corbett, and John, who's a very laconic Australian, a very funny guy, and a competent gentleman driver. But as a competent gentleman driver, he was being severely buzzed by the professionals in the P3s or the up-and-coming young rising stars, and was kind of left behind. And therefore, it was when Neil was kind of held station, but all the forward motion in that car came from Jordan Sanders. So I wouldn't necessarily expect to see at the end of this first session, though, looking at the choice of drivers, certainly with Giuseppe Perezzini 48 and Michael Broncheski starting the 44, they're not, I think, going to be much quicker than Neil in the same car, so they'll probably fall back. It's really whether Kay Van Berlo can come through the field and get onto Neil in this first hour, which we expect to have, obviously it's all the other things. So I think it's going to be a very interesting, very close race as the cars come underneath us, having completed the first of their 2 warming up laps, and the sort of haze in the day is beginning to lift. A lot of humidity in Dubai. We've been here on a number of occasions, Johnny. We've been fog in the morning.
Yeah, less so today, though. It was about 60% humidity yesterday, and I seem to remember on the forecast, I'll check that again because it may have changed overnight, but it was only about 40% today. Temperatures about the same as yesterday. In fact, today's going to be just about the warmest day that we are here in Dubai. Not that it gets cool in the week, drops about 1 or 2 degrees Celsius from tomorrow onwards. There might even be a little bit of rain tomorrow.
Well, you know why it's raining, don't you?
Because it's our day off.
It's your day off, yeah. You'll go by the pool and therefore it's going to rain. It's exactly the same in Abu Dhabi. Last time we had that day before we flew out, and it was the worst weather the entire time we were there.
Yeah, it just...
But let's not moan, because it's still better weather than at home.
I'm not moaning. It just seems rather typical that Brits come to the Middle East and choose to have a day by the pool, and it starts to get a little bit drizzly. It's just ironic more than anything.
That's just Joe. He's a bit drizzly.
I think your shout about Kay Van Berlo, though, coming through the order in car 22, we know that car is quick. That's a good shout. The Speedworks Motorsport machine has been repaired, as Christian Dick described to Joe, and they have almost got unfinished business, I would argue. Jack Butel had a quick chat with us whilst we enjoyed dinner last night, and tinged with a little bit of disappointment as well, because he felt that they didn't reach their potential. They got a quick car, they got a quick driver lineup, but they were plagued with mechanical troubles yesterday. So fingers crossed it goes a lot better for the middle race of 3, at the 3x3 hour for the opening weekend of the year for the Proto Series. So nearing now the end of this second green flag lap. They're just rounding turn 10 at the end of the second of the long straights. Quick blast of the throttle there before setting the car up for turn 11. And you can go through that bend an awful lot quicker than you would think on paper. It's slightly uphill and slightly off camber as well at turn 11, but the corner kind of just slows the car a little because you are climbing that gradient. And then a wide right-hand hairpin at turn 12. Crucial exit speed there, of course, because you're then building speed through the left-hand kink and then hard braking into turn 14. But around this point, the cars will get into 2x2 formation in readiness for our second start of the weekend. And with Neil Mustard at the wheel of the number 6 car, we are expecting slightly increased pace for that G57 compared to John Corbett yesterday. John will have a stint at some stage during the race. And then we think the plan, or Jordan Sanders thinks the plan, is for him to drive that car. I don't think I've ever been in a situation where you interview a driver on the grid and he's still not even sure at that late stage which car he's going to be piloting. But there have been driver changes and driver lineups chopping and changing very late on in the Ginetta world, purely because they didn't even know whether the number 4 car would be part of this race. And Nick's just leaning forward to try and work out whether the number 4 car is sitting at the end of the pit lane or not.
It's right at the point where the walls are highest, so I can't see. It's not in the pit apron anymore, so it's either in the garage or on the pit apron.
Well, The 7 cars that we do have are coming out of turn 16 now, and 3 hours of Proto Series racing gets underway at the Dubai Autodrome. Thank you for joining us here on the Radio Show Limited Network and wherever you may be watching us on the 24H Series stream. It's a cracking start for Neil Muston, allowing that 6.2-litre Chevrolet engine in the back of the Ginetta G57 to come into its own down the main straight. But then through the twisty stuff, Mikhail Broniszewski is able to keep with the Ginetta in the little Graf Ligier JSP3. That's the red, blue and white car in second position. Francois Kerman for Kraft Racing is in third. Fourth position for Mohamed Al Nusif and the AUH Motorsport car. But no, because Kay van Berlo from 6th place on the grid, no, 7th he started, is right with the leaders now, and they're all trying to get past Neil Muston. So we thought the G57 might be able to stretch its legs. It certainly will be able to out of the hairpin at turns 9, turn 8 and 9, but the problem is it's got this squabbling pack of LMP3s and the little CN1 as well of Francois Kerman to try and hold back.
And Van Berlo's about to cap an excellent lap here by coming up the inside of Broniszewski and taking second place into turn 10. It seemed that, I've thought about this a couple of times with that Ginetta. It seems to take a little bit longer to get its tyres warmed up, and so it doesn't quite have that like front end bite at the beginning. He's just falling over himself to get around that little tight complex around 8 and 9, which tightened the cars up. But it's Muston in the Simpson Motorsport number 6 with right on his back bumper the 22K Van Berlo. Now, Van Berlo, the start kind of caught him out, and he actually got past the 48 Perezzini car before the start line, had to back off again, but he was still ahead of the 97 Cristini car when they crossed the line. So it'll be interesting to see whether the clerk of the course has anything about that with Martin Van. He sneaks up the inside there, and he'll be able to hold it. No, and it looks like Muston will have the inside for the next corner into 15, but no, he sweeps through, and a great first lap there for Van Berlo. Takes the lead and he's already sprinting away.
And the good news is Charlie Robertson has joined the race from the pit lane, so Charlie Robertson is going to certainly be somebody to keep our eyes on. It'll take a while for him to catch up with this train of 7 cars, but the 2015 LMP3 champion in the European Le Mans Series, young Charlie, won that well, I suppose we can say 3 years ago now with Sir Chris Hoy. They were the first ever LMP3 champions, and Charlie Robertson is very swift indeed.
So Van Berlo, rather than giving us an exciting race through the field, went from last to first in one lap.
Well, it was quite exciting, but it wasn't prolonged, I know what you mean. Did it very swiftly indeed, and, well, come back to this race in about 5 minutes' time, and I think we will have Kay van Berlo and Charlie Robertson duking it out at the head of the order. But Neil Muston's next job is to try and keep behind him Mikhail Broniszewski of Poland, because the 44 car looks very speedy indeed, and this is the part of the circuit, as we know, that favours the LMP3. Now the P2 can lay down its extra power, but Nick's point about maybe coolish Hankook tyres for the G57 is warranted, because just looks like the grip's not there for Neil Muston at this stage in the race. Give him a couple more laps, might be a different story. There's no difference in the compound, by the way, between a Hankook rubber on a P2 and Hankook rubber on a P3.
Yeah, I think it's worth mentioning, of course, that these P2 cars, as defined by the regulations here, they're not LMP2 cars. It's the Ginetta G57, which was kind of a mule that was initially the P3. It was touted as something that may have got into that P2 auction, or tender, which ended up with the other 4 manufacturers a couple of years ago, gave them the licenses to run P2. They didn't win, and I think at that point Lawrence and Ginetta were pretty upset about all that, as Perezzini locked up the rear wheels, which is quite hard to do going into the tight turn 14.
But he's gained a place on this lap. He's got ahead of Francois Kerman, and that will be confirmed on the timing screen at the end of the lap. And also Charlie Robertson is now ahead of Mohamed Al Nusif. So Al Nusif, unsurprisingly, being a CN1 car, has dropped behind the P2 machine, but Charlie Robertson trying to overtake 7 cars. He's done one of them, and here he comes from way back in the number 4 car. Should be able to pick off Francois Kerman very easily indeed, and down towards turn number 1. That will mean that Charlie Robertson is now 5th.
About the fastest lap last time round was still Kay van Berlo, 1:57.7 against 1:58 flat for Charlie, but obviously Charlie doing a bit of traffic as well. So the basic pace there, but Charlie's the gap. He is only 8 seconds off the lead. So he obviously took quite a quick start off the pit lane. Which when you advance when you have 7 cars, you're going to wait for an entire field to go past with 47 machines. You do tip on the back quite quickly.
Yeah. And sometimes we see cars joining from the pit lane in ACO rules racing, not only joining from the pit lane but also a lap down from the pit lane. Well, Charlie is on the lead lap, and he's now going to try and set up Pier Giuseppe Perezzini in the Spirit of Race Ligier, and there is 6.2 Chevrolet V8 power versus the 5 litre from Nissan, and no competition for the G57, which glides by. That's another position gained for Charlie Robertson.
And it won't be very long before the 44 of Michael Bronczewski also falls to the charging Brit. And this is going to be a real challenge for the overall win. If they are going to run with Mark Simpson as well, they've got 2 exceptionally quick drivers in that exceptionally quick car within this field. So it'll all be down to third driver, who we believe is Simon Murray, though we have yet to see if that will actually happen, because the drivers obviously got mixed and matched yesterday after they initially pulled this number 4 car, and it's about to be a Ginetta on Ginetta action here. And whether or not Muston will let Charlie go, Robertson goes looking to get up the inside on the final corner, the final turn coming to 16, and he's up the inside, so he's switched into second place. So, but very interesting, as he went there offline, there was so much dust coming out the back of the diffuser of that car. It kind of sucks it all through into the car and spews it out. It almost looks like it was in fact, if you look at this car coming towards us now, does that not look like one of the old Peugeot 908s?
Yes, there's certainly a look of it.
And it was spewing out the dirt at the back. It was just like one, like the old diesel. So, but the now
908 FAP. As it
FAP, that's right, yeah. But Kay Van Berlo actually gained another fastest lap there, 55.5, which I think is almost the fastest lap we saw. I think it was the fastest lap yesterday, was 56.1, wasn't it, I think?
No, it was 55.3.
Okay, 55.3, so he's within 2/10 of that time already. Robertson lost 3 seconds in traffic, and this is his first lap of clean air, so we can see what Charlie can do. He needs to bring down, and just shy of 11-second lead that Van Berlo has. Running down the classes, it is Van Berlo leading P3, Robertson leading P2. We have the 98 of Francois Kirkman leading the CN1 class, and he's got about a 3-second lead over his teammate David Cristini in 97, with Mohamed Al Nassif bringing up the rear, obviously in a car that has a lot less potential speed than that Radical, but the guys are enjoying their first taste of more than 20-minute runs ago, and certainly embracing the "this is endurance" concept.
Absolutely, as we all are, in fact, as we all are. And Charlie Robertson, the Scottish driver, although based in Surrey these days, started racing in Ginetta Juniors at 15 years old. He's now chasing down a 17-year-old driver. Charlie Robertson has been part of the Ginetta factory driving lineup along with Mike Simpson for a good few years now, pretty much since he won the title in 2015 of first ever LMP3 champions with another famous Scot, Sir Chris Hoy. So out of the left-hander at 14 goes the number 4 car, seemingly feeling no ill effects after that, well, relatively speaking, quick repair job that they needed to do on the tub, because repairing carbon fibre is no easy task.
Now we have a message on the screen saying start under investigation, and it was a messy start. I think that they went very slowly. It was really, Neil Muston backed them up a bit too much, and they began tripping over themselves. What happened was, I think, basically a couple of them sort of thought, right, we're going to get going, and started trying to go at the beginning of the straight, but they hadn't, of course, crossed start finish, and certainly Kay Van Berlo was ahead of the 98 Cristini car. I didn't see where Mohamed Al Nassif was, who should have been in. Well, they started 4th, didn't they? That's why, so they were actually ahead there. So he had passed one car. He also had gone past the 48 Spirit of Race, but then had backed back out of it again, the 22 of Kay Van Berlo at the start. So the interesting thing is exactly what happened there, but it was very, very messy start, and my feeling is they're going to have to be quite generous, because in letter of the law, the 22 did not start in its correct position, and it's all... adding to its features, it's now got the numbers falling off the right-hand side of the car.
One thing that the Speedworks car is now trying to do is shed its identity.
I know.
Because
it's fearing it's going to be a penalty, so it's trying to hide who it is.
Exactly. And why wouldn't you? So there is a car that has presumably been judged to be out of position, or maybe it was, well, a false start is when you start in the wrong position, effectively. A jump start is getting away before the red lights go out, and either one of those things can incur a penalty. But if the car can't be identified, the 22 number on the right-hand side of the car is starting to peel back, and within a few laps it might not even be there at all.
The 22 definitely started out of position. The question is whether it was actually his fault, or whether the fault it was actually lies more with the way that Neil Muston and everyone was, because it was very, very slow over the line.
Yeah.
And they fell over themselves. Okay. knew where he should have been. It may be a big sign of his inexperience. Obviously, he's used to rolling starts from his karting days, but it's all anything goes, really, isn't it? Once you get round the final corner of a karting start, and he was probably surprised that other people didn't go full whack and he was kind of slowed down. And he realised he'd made half a mistake, but he didn't manage to actually back himself behind the entire field because he should have started last. But yeah, that's one for Martin van Pervet to decide what he's going to do about it. So black and white, he should get a penalty. A little bit tough given the circumstances.
Well, thankfully, it's not our decision to make.
Well, I couldn't. I'm arguing myself now, you see.
As soon as we know which way that goes, sometimes we might just get an NFA, no further action, after the footage is reviewed. So we'll wait and see. But the number 6 car, still driven by Neil Muston, still has a massive amount of pressure here on his shoulders because he cannot shake Broniszewski, who, remember, spent much of the end of yesterday's race defending from a hard-charging Jordan Sanders. So again, there's a bit of unfinished business here as far as the Graf car is concerned.
It's undeniable that the ultimate pace of the G57 is quicker than the Ligier P3. We saw that yesterday.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that gentleman drivers, because we have a gentleman driver in Neil Muston and a gentleman driver in Michael Broniszewski, it seems the gentleman drivers find it easier to extract the pace out of the P3 cars.
Yeah.
You know, because we were talking to John Corbett, who was Neil's teammate, and he was loving the extra power and loving the extra downforce, but it wasn't really indicating itself in the lap time. So it looks like this slightly less wieldy car is possibly more difficult to get a decent time out of. And then you get a pro driver or an up-and-coming young star, and they immediately, you know, as Charlie was doing, they wring the neck of it. And just to prove this, Charlie's just done a 1:52.8, which is 2.3 seconds anything faster than anything we saw yesterday.
Look again.
152 flat now. Oh, okay. Though it is obviously faster because we've just seen that Kay Van Bieler's also done 150, just to show 154. So the track is quicker this morning. That'll almost certainly be down to the fact that it's a bit cooler at the beginning of the day, and it'll be rubbered in from the previous race. But you know, there is effectively that Robertson is doing a time 5 seconds a lap faster than Neil Muston, and you know, if you look at Broniszewski is only 4 seconds or 3 seconds behind what Kay Van Berlo is doing. So you think, oh, my feeling from that is that the gentleman driver can get closer in the LMP3, which of course was designed for gentleman drivers to be able to drive. It's got that easier, bigger window of envelope, you know, of operation than they can in the P2. So yeah, that's an observation of one race and 12 minutes.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, Ligier's brief remit when they came to build their LMP3 was that it must be drivable, and therefore, you know, the really hot times must be achievable by the non-pro drivers. Always that last sort of 2-3%, very top range, difficult to achieve, but if you can get close to it, then that's pretty much job done. And Ligier have achieved that. They've produced a very good car that's sold a lot of units. The Norma is creeping in now into the LMP3 world, but LMP3 started, remember, with only Ginettas, and after 2015 we didn't see any more in the ACO promoted championships, organised championships, but that meant that the Ginetta was always going to go somewhere else, went back to the factory in Garforth and was effectively redesigned into a pseudo P2 car and runs in a P2 class in the Creventic promoted championship, known as the G57, and has been seen raced in the domestic UK championship as well. People like Colin White love driving this prototype car along with his more conventional Ginetta, the G55. Charlie Robertson is one of the chaps who's helped to develop this along with Mike Simpson, so he really should be pretty swift in it. And a 152.0, very impressive. He was 0.7 of a second off that time around though, and no traffic encountered, I don't think, for the young Scot.
Well, your tyres only got so much life.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
and this isn't, I don't think Hankook have produced a specific prototype tyre.
No, I think it's what Hankook do for the Creventic series is really amazing, because they produce a tyre that's effectively the same compound. It's a slightly different construction, obviously, because you can't have the same construction on the front wheel of a Clio as you can on the rear wheel of a Porsche 911. But it is absolutely neutral as far as grip is concerned if you set the thing up right. Because let's suppose race teams complain about everything.
Yes.
And despite the fact we have Porsches versus Mercedes versus Lamborghinis, I've never heard them say, oh, it's not fair, the tyre favours someone else. They kind of like, oh, well, it's the tyre. I mean, literally, they do literally complain about everything, but they kind of go, you know. Oh, I can't. Yeah, but I think it's a difficult job, and obviously, it's really a complex remit to try and get a compound tyre that works not only on the track but also in the temperature ranges you have. But I don't think this is specific to Dubai tyre. I think the tyre is the same the whole year round. So they'll be using the same thing at Silverstone, where it's going to be expected to be significantly more fresh, shall we say.
I think that's a fair comment.
And that will be we'll be looking to power cars ranging from 1,200 kilo Mercedes 3 down to a little lightweight sort of and of course the TCR cars and everything else. So it's a really interesting project to have these tyres working so well on all the cars, working so evenly. And it's interesting that what they have done, and if those of you Abu Dhabi remember, the Abu Dhabi we had GT3 and P3, and they were balanced effectively by having a tyre which the P3 cars couldn't use. They were on a Pirelli tyre that P3 cars couldn't use, so which lost them 8 seconds, which made them the same speed. Here, you're seeing the fastest laps of the weekend. That 1:52.1. Well, I suppose we'll see what about 1:56 is the top GT3 cars do, but 1:55 they'll do, but they won't get any lower than that, and they'll actually rotate most of the laps at 2-minute flat. Whereas it's pretty obvious that Charlie can probably run in the 1:52, 1:53 the whole time because the cars are basically quicker. But the tyre he's using, that's the same tyre, that's the same compound, same grip level, same compound, but obviously a slightly different construction to take into account the size and the type of the wheels.
Charlie's just managed to do the fastest third sector of anybody, so even better than his previous effort. Got the gap down to 5.1 seconds now between the front of that Ginetta G57 and Kay van Berlo, the 17-year-old Dutchman who he's trying to chase down. A P2 attacking a P3. Where have I seen that before? Oh, yes. Yesterday evening. Here's Joe Bradley with the first update from the pit lane. He's joined now with someone from Ginetta, Mike Simpson.
Great to see the number 4 Ginetta out there and lapping faster than we've seen all weekend. Michael Simpson here. You've kind of been a part of the Ginetta prototype project from the outset. The car is obviously, you've fixed the car completely because that thing's going really well with Charlie Robertson at the wheel. Can you give us some detail, some technical detail as exactly what the problem was and how you fixed it?
Yeah, so we unfortunately we don't know why. We need to assess it back at base, but the lower wishbone, we had it pull out of the clevis of the chassis, and it's obviously a carbon tub, and it's tricky to repair, but we've Simpson, a great team with the guys back at base, come up with a re-engineering solution, and as clearly Charlie's proven, they've done a good job, burnt the midnight oil, but the car's running really, really well, so I'm very pleased.
So the guys back at base, where are you based, by the way?
In Leeds, in England, yeah.
Whereabouts in England?
In Leeds, Dartford.
In Leeds, all right. So back at base, the guys got the drawing board out and the CAD cam and stuff and re-engineered a repair process for you.
Yeah, so Ewan Baldry, the technical director, and the team, we've got a huge laminating carbon fibre production facility as well, so it was quite quick to come up with what we need to do, and thankfully, Julian Simpson of Simpson Motorsport had all the kit here to do that, and he's a very top quality engineer as well, so he had the hard job of having his head in a tub for a few hours last night repairing it, but I'm so pleased he did. Commercially, to have 2 cars running. Neil's doing a great job covering his gentleman driver's stint. We've got young Jordan in at the end who's quick. I might even get a go, which would be nice. And,
that was my next question, Michael.
Yeah, so I should be in at the end. We're going to let Simon Murray, who's got a car in Kailami, South Africa, to have a run next. And it's great. The car next door's gone a bit quick, so looking at the lap times, I'd probably think a restrictor's been taken out of a P3 there, which is it's good fun. Let's have a good race, yeah.
We had a great race yesterday, didn't we? Jordan absolutely wringing the car's neck to get that lead. We saw our TV pictures showed you biting your nails yesterday. Do you find that easier to sit there or behind the wheel?
It's much easier behind the wheel. You're master of your own destiny then, aren't you? But it's great and good for Jordan because effectively his car was out of the race. So I managed to pole that car and happy to step aside and let Jordan show what he can do. And that's what Ginetta's about as a business, is bringing the talent in for all the junior ranks and up to this, and then hopefully LMP1 in the future.
Great stuff, Michael. Hope to see you out there later on.
Yeah,
Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, good to hear from Mike, who's been driving and developing Ginettas for probably the best part of 10 years now. And as he says, Ginetta now based in Leeds in Yorkshire, UK, but prior to that it was Sheffield. Prior to that, the company had a home in Suffolk. I mean, it was born in the early days. I still see the odd Ginetta G2 out on track from the sort of early 60s. And if you go to historic racing, something like the Silverstone Classic, there's always a little Ginetta doing tremendously well. They used to be a road car manufacturer, but now very much known for their names in motorsport.
Lawrence Tomlinson gave me a go in his road car.
Did he?
Up in Snetterton many years ago when I was doing touring cars. He was trying to produce a road-going version of the G55 or G50, but we now have a battle for the lead, Johnny. So we'll go back to the exciting reminiscence of Lawrence Tomlinson from days of yore, but as they come, I think, running into turn 10, Kay Van Berlo now, his mirrors are full of Charlie Robinson in the number 4 car. Now, the difference is Charlie's got about a second a lap, 1.5 now they're running at full whack, so he should be able to, if Charlie got his, no, he's trying to do him at the inside of 18, but they come around the tight. Really, Charlie can just wait for the main straight, can't he? Because he has an extra 100 horsepower. He's just now sharking behind him in that Peugeot 908 Tribute colour scheme, looking to get up the inside, and it looks like Kay's going to put no attempt to stop him. It's a very easy pass there for Robinson, goes into the lead. Van Berlo just takes a slightly easier line. He had the correct line coming in the last corner. Charlie went up the inside of turn number 16, which is the last one, and then comes down the straight and he takes the lead very easily.
And overtake at turn 18 on the 16 corner track, but I know what you mean.
Should I tell you why I said that? Because I was looking at the programme from 2009, and when they run the short circuit, the corners, they go turn 1, turn 2, turn 17, turn 18.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they go back to turn 10 because they cut all the other turns out.
It's clear as mud, isn't it? But the nice thing about this venue, it's a little bit like Silverstone in that respect, is that you can certainly have 2 circuits running at the same time. Possibly more than that. I don't know. I haven't quite worked that out. And I think it's only 2 you could have as a maximum. But the section around turns 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 is a little circuit of its own. Top left corner of the track map, if you like. But it hasn't taken Charlie Robertson very long at all. Remember, this is a car that started from the pit lane. So as everyone got underway for that start that was under investigation but may not be anymore, we'll wait and see. But as those cars headed through turns 2 and 3, Charlie was only just getting going from the pit lane, and he's had to work his way up the order. Great driver, but he also has superior kit, I think it's fair to say, on the P3s and the CNs that he's overtaken on the way.
Do you think Mike Simpson is being a bit cheeky there, or do you think he believes they've taken a restrictor out of the 22 car?
I think he's a cheeky chappy, so I don't know.
I mean, I think the obviously that car is going a lot quicker than the EP3 went yesterday. We never really saw the proper pace of the Ginetta because it was back in the day on old tyres. But you know, I think if you look at the best speed, he has got. Kay Van Berlo is a 1:56.6. The next fastest is a 1:56.4 by Broncheski. But Broncheski was a couple or 3 seconds slower than Pacini anyway yesterday, so I doubt it. I think that Mike was having a little bit of play with it. Then again, his man just on a 1:51.5.
Yeah.
So first lap in the lead of the whole thing, putting some gap down, managed to put a 3.5 second lead over Van Berlo in the 22 car already. So Robinson now streaking away, but remember there's a huge stagger in this, and the stagger is the other drivers. We've not seen Simon Murray, so we have no idea what sort of pace the South African has. But my guess is it won't be the same as Charlie or Mike. We know that following up Kay Van Berlo will be at some point the exceptionally fast Jack Boutel. And we only saw a very little bit of Konstantin Gukayev yesterday because he only got the last 25 minutes. Do you know what sort of pace that boy has?
Gukayev has won races round here in the CN1 division.
Okay.
Again, it's not going to be Mike Simpson, Charlie Robertson, Jordan Sanders sort of speed. I'd be interested to know, and you'd have to do some kind of comparison model on this, but who's the quicker driver between Jack Boutel and Jordan Sanders? They're in very different machinery, unfortunately, so it's difficult to do a side-by-side comparison. But there's a lot of young talent here, which is promising for the future of prototype racing. And you know, prototype racing, sports car racing, has also always been a combination of up-and-coming youngsters from karting, late teens, early 20s, mixed in with the non-professional drivers, those that have made their money in business elsewhere and come racing. well, you could say they started racing as a hobby, but then it becomes a lot more serious than that once you get involved with a manufacturer team and go pro-am racing, for instance.
Well, we were chatting to Jack, as you say, Jack Buttel, over dinner yesterday, and I asked him what's his ultimate aim, and without missing a beat, he said Le Mans 24 Hour.
Yeah.
You know, and
it's refreshing, that.
Well, I think it's interesting because you now do have, as we see for the first time, I think, on camera, the 177, the AUH Motorsport Radical, the Renault from 2006 coloured car, blue with light yellow, but he's just being lapped. But these are the boys who are just revelling in the fact they get to drive for over an hour each. Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because you now get three specific sort of streams of young drivers. There's young driver A, who is still following the Lewis Hamilton dream, wants to do F1. They are the ones who have exceptionally rich fathers. Then you have the guys who want to try and get into sports cars. They have reasonably rich fathers. And then you get the guys who want to do touring cars. They have no money at all.
And you're talking relatively, of course, because you still need
millions of pounds.
£100,000.
I think the reason that the guys who want to do touring cars are the guys who can't afford to go karting. They skip that bit straight away.
Yeah. But Simon Murray is, from what I read, a promising South African who's done a lot of racing at the Kyalami circuit and a lot of racing there actually for Ginetta. So Mike Simpson mentioned the next calling point on his schedule is to travel to Kyalami. I wouldn't be surprised if Simon Murray is involved in that initiative.
Yeah,
he's also
done that Simon had a car in Kyalami.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
So,
but he's also done some Formula Volkswagen racing in South Africa as well. So another chap who's experienced in single-seaters, making the jump across to prototypes. It's not that big a jump, but you have to make adjustments, certainly. 177 car then. I mean, these chaps are so enthusiastic about their racing. I didn't know an awful lot about the three Kuwaitis who are doing the driving for AUH Motorsport. AUH were here last year, by the way, but not with the three drivers that we have, the two Mohammeds and Salim Al Nusif, but it is Mohammed Al Nusif doing the driving right now, and we'll be handing at some point over to Mohammed Al Hassawi, who put in some good stints, some good times yesterday. That's the run down into turn 16. Some sunlight glinting off the asphalt. Still relatively early on in the morning. We're 9:26 a.m. local time, and that means 2.5 hours still to go of this second race of the weekend for the 2018 Proto Series. 1 3-hour race yesterday, which saw the number 6 Ginetta G57 win overall from the number 44 Graf Racing Ligier of Michael Broniszewski and Giacomo Piccini. But it'd be a brave man to bet against the number 4 car at this stage of the race. Charlie Robertson romping away, but as Nick says, we've got to factor in stints from Simon Murray and from Mike Simpson. So that plummet downhill into the braking area now for Neil Muston, one or two Australian drivers that will be behind the wheel of the number 6 car as they were yesterday, probably joined by Jordan Sanders. And the Graf Racing car, driven still by Polish driver Michał Broniszewski. So this car has dropped to 4th position now. And what were the Ligiers doing in terms of stint length yesterday?
They can do over an hour here, just over the hour. That particular car did an hour and 20 minutes, around 15 minutes, with Giacomo Piccini. And then it handed over to Broniszewski, did a full service and tyres, and Broniszewski came in for a splash and dash about half an hour to go. So he did about an hour and 50 of the 3 hours, but did a little bit of fuel stop inside. He was actually saying that his front tyres were completely gone at that last few lap battle he had with Jordan Sanders. So yeah, I mean, I think they need effectively 2 stops, but they don't need 2 full fills. And of course the CN cars can do it on 1 fill. Hence the reason they kind of break the race in a weird way. They do an hour and a half for the first drive, and then like 30 minutes the next drive, and then the last guy gets an hour, because they're literally just doing it around fuel stops. So yeah, I think obviously this track is not a massively thirsty track, because I think, as you said, that on some circuits a P3 car is lucky to get 52, 53 minutes. They can definitely clip over the hour, which is the key thing. And then beyond that, I think it gets to be tactics. Now, obviously, last race yesterday evening, we had a Code 60 about this time, about half an hour in. This time, it's all looking much cleaner. Everyone's got their cars running, and I think the first time in one of these events, we've actually gained cars during the event. We go from 7 to 8, and no one's had a problem. So this is great to see. But I think it is very much a case where you have to look at how the stagger unwinds in the drivers, not in because you've now told me that Simon Murray is a bit of a hot shot, so I'm now thinking this is looking a little bit more nailed on for the 4 because they've got Mike at the end who'll be very, very quick. But if the 22 can hold on to them, if their team of 3 drivers can make up that probably car deficit of a second a lap with driver skill in the later stages, we can still have a very, very close result. But then it's before, of course, the other P3 cars get their top drivers in, particularly the Spirit of Race team, who have 2 very fast drivers in Marco Ciocci and Rory Aguas, and Ciocci was the fastest of all yesterday.
Yes, he was.
Perezzini certainly was a quick driver in his prime, and he was the first to admit that prime was a few years ago. He's a man even past my venerable age, but I'm not sure I could turn the laps of 1:57, that's for sure, in these cars. I might do 1:58, obviously.
Yeah, don't do yourself too much down, for goodness sake. There is
whatever I could do, Joe could go quicker.
That's absolutely sure.
And somebody else much, much quicker, but he's got nothing to prove.
No, indeed. That somebody else is not me, by the way, although I was particularly slow in Abu Dhabi. I've got some work to do.
Yeah, you need to get your head back in gear for karting on Tuesday, because you were way off the pace.
I was, by my own standards. Still scratching my head.
Yeah, because I beat you by a second, which is ridiculous, because normally you're well over me.
Neil Muston's found a bit of speed that time around. He's put in his fastest lap of the race so far in the 3rd placed Ginetta G57. And Neil is just heading out of turn 15 now. There he is, down towards 16. And you brake at the 50-metre board. Notice that later on in yesterday's race, braking was done just to get some pressure at about the 150-metre marker. So the flash of the brake lights and then the full application into 16
they're worried by
itself.
pad knockoff on a prototype car.
Yeah, well, maybe it was pad knockoff rather than.
Must be tending to be dabby. You're tending to be worried about pad knockoff. You don't need to pressurise these systems up.
I see.
But that tends to happen on touring cars.
Yeah.
But I suppose perhaps it also afflicts your full-on prototypes as well.
Obviously so.
Or it might be a habit that Jordan got into. It might be a driving style habit thing, because I don't think I've seen it from many other people apart from Jordan last night.
Yeah, maybe just to sort of belt and brace his attitude, if you like. David Christini, the Frenchman for Craft Racing, heading into the first corner, and then the teammate, the other car from Craft Racing, French squad, based in Verrières in France. Not actually sure whereabouts in the country that is. I'll have to Google map that in a moment. It's a big country, France.
I was going to ask you that yesterday. We went very confident. Oh, Verrières, but yeah, you know where that is.
No, I don't. But I read it, and it makes me sound knowledgeable. Francois Kerman. Very German-sounding name, but the Kerman family are from France as well, and we caught up with Daniel, I think, before the start. Francois doing the driving now in one of 2 little Norma M20 FCs, I think both of which featured in this event 12 months ago. We also had a Radical from AUH Motorsport, rather. So CN1, the 3 cars grouped together in the same area of the timing screen at the moment, 6th, 7th and 8th positions, as you would expect for the slower cars, and it's 98 leading 97, leading 177, the sky blue and yellow Radical SR3, which is powered by a motorcycle engine. Out of 14 then goes the little 2-seater prototype. They're all open cockpit cars, the CN1s, although we discovered from a few of you on Twitter yesterday, it doesn't have to be an open cockpit car to classify as a CN machine.
And they're allowed carbon fibre chassis now as well.
I still don't know what C and N stand for, but I know that the N kind of comes from Group N a little bit. So that you used to have rally cars that were Group A, Group B, Group N, and also that ran through into touring cars as well, which basically means production or near production standard. And CN is then a sort of prototype track day type version of Group N, as far as I can gather. So it doesn't have all the mod cons that you would have on an LMP1 car, clearly, or an LMP2, or these days an LMP3 either. Some of the LMP3s even run with air conditioning, I think.
But driver changes are much easier.
Driver changes are incredibly much easier.
Even for the amateurish green tabarded driver assist people, who I'm still certain after my day in the pits yesterday are much worse at changing drivers than other drivers are.
But yeah, with no doors to open and close, it's going to be an easier driver change. You can just skip out. And that was always the idea behind open-topped cars at Le Mans. In Audi's early days, they worked out the benefits of aerodynamics having a closed cockpit, but also how much time you could potentially save in a pit stop getting drivers in and out, and decided to go the open cockpit route. But as soon as then the pit lane regulations were changed and you couldn't do certain things whilst you were fueling the car, they worked out that actually a closed cockpit car would save them a lot more time around the 8.5 mile track. This is a shorter circuit, the Dubai Autodrome, which first opened in October 2004. And bizarrely, us being in the Middle East, the first race in October 2004 was the final race of the year for the European Touring Car Championship, which travelled here. Not really going with the name on the tin, but it was also the final race of the FIA GT Championship in 2004. So this year it'll be the 14th birthday of the Dubai Autodrome. It's 3.3 miles around here.
Built for F1, never got it.
Yeah, I know. Got A1GP, but...
Built for F1. It is an A1T circuit, which means you can test modern F1 cars here, if anyone tested modern F1 cars anymore. One of the plethora of Grade 1 circuits around the region, with Qatar, Abu Dhabi, and of course Bahrain. But they didn't get. It never quite came together. And I think it's fair to say that of the mega domes within the United Arab Emirates around, this circuit is the one that is run the most like a professional circuit. They've had a couple of, if you look at what happened over here, the track had a huge problem after 2008. It was still in its kind of build phase, and there were lots of hotels going up and grandstands, and the whole infrastructure around the basic track was still being built when the financial crisis hit in 2008, and that just absolutely stalled the development. In fact, we've got a couple of ghost hotels. There's a ghost hotel on the way in, which is 90% completed. It's got the chillers in, but it hasn't got the final glass, and it's been left effectively to decay in the dust. And they won't be able to complete that, pull it down. The rumours are that the big complex round by turn 1 is going to be redeveloped at the cost of, we were told by our O221, our TV company, of $2 billion against when developing that whole complex around turn 1 too. They have just built a hotel, which is on the outside of the final corner, which is turn 16, not turn 18.
Yes.
Outside the final corner, which will be coming to its place. If we have a second race here, which starts in a few hours' time and ends at 6 o'clock local time. By the time it ends, we're already in dusk, and the new hotel looks rather lovely, isn't it? It's got some very nice colours. They've got a colour bars which were green yesterday. It lights up beautifully. But the circuit itself, the track here, it's one of those. Most reminds me of Valencia. In design, they've got a huge amount of actual track into a small amount of square footage and acreage. Just if you had the screen there a second ago, you would have seen the bottom pits with the bottom grandstands they're going to develop just around turn 1. I guess the other side, the left-hand side of the car now. Huge development going to go on there. The money now is flowing back into Dubai. There's building everywhere. After a stall for 3 years, near our hotel, they've built 6 skyscrapers, all of it above 400 feet in the past 6 months, as you do really, as they extend into the desert scrub ever more. And of course, the big thing for Dubai is 2020, which will be the World's Fair will be held here. So they are scaling up massively to welcome the world of trade in 2 years' time now.
I opened my hotel room curtains this morning. There is the hotel in the background, by the way. So every time we get a view of the main start and finish straight here, look behind that effectively. It'll be more obvious later on this evening for race 3 of 3. When we get to about 5:30, 5:45, the green lights, they may not be green tonight. It's exciting to think about. But yeah, the horizontal lines on that hotel made turn 16 look very grandiose indeed. But yes, opened the curtains of my hotel room this morning and it was reminded how big that development is that's happening just across the water. The foundations look like a building in themselves, and that you reckon is going to be...
They are building near... We're
us.
staying in a place called Festival City, which is actually sort of 10 clicks south of the airport and about 20 clicks from the actual track. And they are in that area. They are planning to build a building higher than the Burj Khalifa, which is not the sail, it's the big tall pointy one, and that is intended to build one. It's I think annoyingly for Dubai, I think the Chinese built the biggest building of all a couple of years ago, so they now need to go and build a bigger one. It's an amazing place. I recommend anybody come to Dubai, but don't come after May because it gets too hot.
Yes.
So basically, don't come in June, July, August, September, October. The rest of the time, knock yourselves out.
Yeah, because temperatures of 50 degrees Celsius are not unknown in the height of summer in this part of the world.
Quite common.
Indeed. 50 degrees Celsius, you can certainly feel that on the back of your neck. I think the Burj Khalifa is still just about the tallest building in the world. It's certainly the tallest structure in the world. The Shanghai Tower is close to it.
I think there's things under construction that are going to beat it, that's why.
Yeah. I looked that up earlier on in the week, but there's differences between tallest structures and tallest buildings as well.
Yeah, because radio towers and that sort of thing.
Masts,
I know. I think many years ago, when the Empire State Building was the tallest in the world, they got beaten by a Russian radio mast, so they just stuck on a radio mast in the Empire State Building to get another 30 feet.
Who can blame them? It's not the most glamorous thing to be overtaken by, really.
So whilst we've been chatting about Dubai, the race has surprisingly trundled on, and what's happened is Charlie Robinson now has built up a 21-second lead over Kay Van Berlo, consistently lapping 2 seconds faster, Charlie, with the G57 P2. So Van Berlo in second in the 22 car, the Speedworks car, 21 seconds back. Neil Muston is in third in the Simpson Motorsport car. He is further behind that because he's not completed that 21st lap. He's a minute and 12 behind the leaders, and Neil Muston back from his teammate at minute and 12. Michael Broncheski in the Graf car. He is in third, and he's 1 minute 22 seconds off the lead. Pier Giuseppe Perezzini in the Spirit of Race JS2. He's in fifth in overall, and of course in third in P3. And he is just about 1 minute 36 behind, and then not on the same lap anymore are the two CN cars. Oh, I'm sorry, I've upset Francois Kerman is 140 behind the leader, and then he's got David Christini in the 97, and at the rear it is Mohamed Al Nusif in the AH Motorsport Radical, and he is a lap down. So it's Robertson, Van Berlo, Muston, Broncheski, Perezzini, Kerman, Christini and Nusif is your order, and it goes P2, P3, P2, P3, P3, and then the three CM1s at the back. Three separate races going on, and don't forget the podium yesterday, we had one car from each of the three classes.
Yeah, we did. We'll be hard pushed to have the same today, purely because the CN1s are running 6th, 7th and 8th overall, but the gap between, for instance, Pier Giuseppe Perezzini and Francois Kerman is not that great, although Perezzini, having recently got by the little Norma, is starting to just edge away very slightly. We're in a situation where basically a car in front of the next is going faster in every case, so gaps are widening rather than getting tighter. However, that will change and fluctuate once we introduce driver 2 and driver 3 into the mixture. So we're in one of those patterns really where the race is getting quieter and arguably a little less interesting, I suppose, but don't lose faith, because it will change, it will yin, it will yang.
I think, yeah, that's a very good point. I think we are now in that stable position where we've got a number of competent drivers turning laps at the speed they can turn laps in their car and in their leather tire. Neil Muston hasn't put a foot wrong in his stint, but he is 2 or 3 seconds a lap slower than professional racing driver Charlie Robinson. You know, Pier Giuseppe Perezzini hasn't put a lap wrong, but he is 2 or 3 seconds slower than we will see Marco Ciocci going later. And as the other drivers come in, it's going to be interesting to see how the ebb and flow for the team go. I think Jordan Simpson might be getting in next into the number 2 rather than being waited to the end. So that car might start moving forward there. And so any of the top 5 cars, the P2s and the P3s, have a really good chance of starting moving up and down the field based on their driver lineup. And of course, the other thing we did see, we saw a number of snaffles in the pits yesterday. Cars that wouldn't restart, people taking too long to change the drivers, laconic seatbelt reattachment. So you have no minimum. Have you found out you have no minimum pit stop time here? No, this year might have been last year, but this year there is no minimum pit stop time. So it is all going to be down to being clean in the pits, because a 20-second lead is fantastic, but it evaporates in a second if you make a mistake in the pits. And more importantly, we are probably about 15 to 20 minutes away from that first stop, as I would expect a lot of the cars, given the fact we've had a pure, clean running first section of this second of the 3x3 Dubai prototype races, to come in quite close to the hour. They won't be fiddling around too much, I would think. They won't have a full tank, so we've done their laps to the grid as well, and their 2 warm-up laps. So certainly the P2 and P3s will probably be feeling a little bit thirsty by the time we hit the hour, so I would expect they'll be in around the hour and 5-minute mark.
David Cristini continues to get quicker in the French-run craft racing car. Viriard, by the way, is about halfway between Lyon and Dijon. So it's sort of middle-ish France to the right.
There's an awful lot of middle France.
There is. It can go on for a fair old way.
France is interesting, because you always think France is like, I always think France is a bit like Britain, because they've got a similar number of people in it, but it has vast amounts of area where it's just kind of really nice countryside, and there's no one.
Yes, yeah, true. But you speak to people who live at Le Mans, for instance, or in Paris, they will go on holiday sometimes to the south of France, because it feels like a different country. And I mean, the train system there is that good that the journey will take you maybe 4 hours to do, but it really feels like you've travelled through about 3 or 4 different countries when you reach Marseille and somewhere like Paul Ricard, which is right in the bottom of the country, and very, very nice indeed in terms of weather. Great place to go racing as well. Ricard back on the calendar for 2018 in the 24H series?
No.
Is it not?
No, it's not on the calendar.
Oh, no, I was building it up then.
That's
okay.
all right. You're going for the LMS, you're fine.
That's true.
You can go.
Thank you.
We won't bother.
No,
there's been quite a few calendar changes this year, actually, just to on the 24H series, of course, on the Proto series and everything else. The multiple series, but the key thing is this is the Dubai race, where we have the touring cars and the GT cars will run together next weekend, or next Friday and Saturday, the weekend in the United Arab Emirates. We have the Proto race separate the previous weekend, and a couple of days off for you to get wet, because it's not going to be sunny. The next race within the Creventic series is, of course, at Silverstone. In the first week of March, it'll be balmy. There will not be any squally showers, wind, rain and frostbite.
Absolutely not.
There may be snow.
We have had snow at Silverstone in recent years for a World Endurance Championship weekend. You might remember that Saturday morning.
That was mid-April. We're probably settled in March. So yes, they've got a 12-hour split, 6-hour race on the Friday and Saturday, and then we immediately 2 hours after the 12-hour GT race has stopped. We then find out that the 24-hour touring car race happens 2 hours later. Now, I've just heard from Wincy Willis in the pit lane that there is now no longer a forecast of rain. Let's hear more from Joe about the weather.
I was adamant that Joe had seen the wrong forecast. What are you saying now, Bradders?
Well, the forecast that I'm seeing is that there's no rain now. It's just going to be a little cloudier than it is at the moment. I've got to say, track temperature already up to about 32 degrees. The sun absolutely roasting out here. We're about 23 degrees ambient, and certainly different conditions track-wise than when we started yesterday's race. We're going to start this afternoon's race in similar conditions, but this morning, and that first set of tyres, no doubt about it, they'll have had a different tyre pressure to accommodate the slightly cooler track temperature, but the track temperature now is getting towards where we're used to, so familiar territory for everyone.
And have you
Does it feel humid to you, Joe? And it's difficult to do a comparison because I know Nick was out in pit lane yesterday.
No, it doesn't actually. It's quite hot.
Yeah, but humidity is different from heat, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not claggy though.
Okay,
it's kind of a dry heat.
Lack of clag. And have you taken your jacket off yet?
We're at Simpson. Yes, I did. That went off straight after the grid, to be honest. It was really warm. We're at the Simpson Motorsport pit, and we're just watching how the dynamic progresses. Simon Murray is walking up and down like a caged lion. He can't keep still. He plugs us in, his earplugs are out, he's walking to the front, he's walking to the back. He just can't wait to get into this car. But Seb and I are being fed sausage sandwiches. Seems like there's a constant flow of sausage sandwiches, thanks to Charles Kerr. Great stuff.
Is it as good as a croissant, though, is the question.
I've worked my way through about 17 pain au chocolat so far this morning. Here we go, Joe again.
Let's have a word with the caged lion, because Simon here, and he was, of course, due to be out in the number 4 Ginetta.
Yeah.
We have heard all about the problems. You don't need to go about that. Psychologically, you're like a caged lion, caged tiger, I've just said. So what does that do? How do you, for one thing, yesterday you were all ready to race.
Yeah.
That's taken away from
Yeah.
you. How do you cope with that?
I was gutted yesterday. We went to the water park to hide the tears. They were streaming down my face. But we got the good news this morning that the car's all sorted. So now I'm really amped to get out there. And
that's why you're pacing up and down, isn't it? You're just itching.
Absolutely. And Charlie's going to hand me a great position to start in. So I just want to keep it steady and constant and hand over to Mike at the end.
I suppose once you get behind the wheel and get out that pit road there, Seb, that's where Simon's looking forward to driving out. Once you get out there, everything just calms down again, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, then you just focused on the next corner, the next lap, the rest of your stint. So it's the nervous times before you get in the car, not once you're in the car.
Well, we're about, I would say, maybe 15 minutes away from that. I just hope it comes soon for you, Simon, before you have a breakdown.
Thank you very much.
Simon Murray, experienced in the VDV Championship, and also, as I say, passed in the Formula Volkswagen South Africa Championship as well. Was doing that in 2013. So
I like the idea of going to the water park. That sounds like this.
Yeah.
I think it's a good. My car's broken down. I'm going to go down a 50-foot empty slide.
Whatever gets you the rush, I suppose.
Whatever gets you through the night.
And that.
Yes.
Here's Charlie Robertson, and he didn't even think he'd be racing this weekend, here in a coaching capacity and for a bit of a holiday, although don't tell anybody. But the holiday's turned into, well, an even better holiday, in fairness.
Batsman's holiday.
He's doing some motor racing as well. Yeah, absolutely, doing the day job whilst away from his usual home in Surrey. And another really good Sector 1 time. He wasn't particularly slow through Sector 2 either. This might be a new fastest lap of the race, potentially. 44.0, very respectable indeed. And Charlie is about to cross the line. No, it's not a new fastest lap, but he misses out on it only by 1/10 of a second.
And it's interesting because he had a couple of slower laps prior to that. And I thought, yeah, what Joe was saying about the temperature's come up, the tyres have gone off, that's fine. But then he's now found a bit of a new lease of life. I don't know whether someone put some gunk on the track, but everyone had a slow lap a couple of laps ago, and they're all picking up again. Neil Muston's just done his best lap for the number 6 Simpson Motorsport car, the 155.4. To give you an idea, the best lap for Charlie in the identical machine is a 151.6, and we have our first pit caller.
Joe.
We have indeed got our first pit caller, and this has got to be tactical. It is the number 44. Now that car at the moment has got Michael Brunzewski at the wheel, I believe. I might be wrong on that one. You guys are going to tell me otherwise.
It's the 48 Spirit of Race.
It's the 48, right. It came by me. I was blinded by the sun, actually, talking about the weather again.
I can see you there.
Now the 48
read the number on the side.
Perzani has just gotten out of the car, and this is clearly, I would think, a tactical kind of judgment on bringing the car in, which is probably about 10 minutes ahead of fuel schedule. But the car taking on a new set of tyres. Looking at the tyres that have just coming off, that's quite a nice sort of glaze across the tyre, not too worn. Even spread of wear across the face of the tyre. We're having the windscreen cleaned while we're at it.
Looks like
Tyre
it's
man just taking
Crichton
it away.
Landudis going in, Joe.
I can't quite see in there, but we're having a mirror adjustment. And because of the different sizes of drivers, you think it's not just about how far your legs are away from the pedals, it's things like adjusting the mirrors and getting everything right for the driver. And it is Crichton Landudis who's getting it into the car. This is the driver that started this car yesterday. And a bit of a nightmare first stint because of, I think we said, we put it down to an ill-pressured set of tyres that stopped the tyres coming on to optimum temperature and pressure, so it made the car a little bit tricky to drive, and Crichton did struggle to get any handling out of the car. Now the car's just fired up. As it edges away, he will not blast out of the pit road, but will turn right and go into the fuel station just about now. As he does that, that's the first of our pit call. It's going to get busy down here, guys.
Yeah, it certainly is. The first of a cluster of pit stops then, as the Greek driver, Lendoudis, turns right. We haven't actually mentioned about fueling. If you weren't with us yesterday, fueling is done in an entirely separate location from where the driver change and the tyre change is done, right in front of the garages. You actually head to a little quadrant where there are, I think, 6 fuel pumps and a driver stroke mechanic ready and waiting from your team to then fill your car with fuel. Back to Joe. You've grabbed a driver.
Yes, I have. Per Giuseppe. Ciao. You were looking at that tyre. Is that the left front tyre?
Yes.
That's the tyre that takes all the energy here.
2 or 3 laps, I don't remember exactly when, block the tires in front and I have a lot of vibration on the steers, but I prefer to continue to avoid another pit stop, but it was very hard because in the corner I have a wheel.
For pretty much the whole of that stint.
I resist for one stint, but it was very hard, because the tires has a problem of grip and of vibration in the front.
You've had a very character-building weekend so far. The first race yesterday, the car was ill handling, and then that tyre problem, that's put you back down the field once again.
No, I think it's not we can do a good job of the same thing. It's not fundamental. For us, it's important to continue to not a great error. To get an error.
Yeah, thanks, Giuseppe. Perezzini there. His job's done for the day, and that's quite daunting. That he said. Did he say after 4 laps he'd flat spotted the tyres?
Yes, I think it was. I mean, I noticed the pace had dropped quite a bit from the 44 car early on.
Yeah, I saw it. No,
you spotted it?
Yeah, I thought I must be. I think he locked quite a lot, but all 4 of the tyres up because it was the mess was coming from the rear. But yeah, they put in Christian Landukis, which doesn't really fill me with any great thoughts that this car is going to start moving forward. It might start moving backward.
It might start moving sideways quite a bit as well, because there was a double spin that Lendoudis did early on in the stint, and actually after those 3 moments that the Greek had, he did tidy up his lines, his speed increased, and it was just a case of him getting more and more used to the LMP3 car. I've seen that a lot in the European Le Mans Series, actually, when the gentleman drivers are coming in. It's a bit of a culture shock to get behind the wheel of this car, which only sticks to the ground the faster you drive it, and that goes against most of our mentality, I would say. The racing driver, though, thinks very, very differently.
If they think at all.
If they think at all. It was this corner, turn 6, where Lendoudis had 2 separate moments, one of which, the last of which yesterday, resulted in him stalling the car, and we had to go code 60 for his car to be recovered back to the pits.
We just had some information from Race Control that the number 22 K Van Berlo car will pick up a 10-second stop-go for jumping the start, which I think, I did describe to you because I saw it up beneath me, but I think it's, they've obviously gone, well, you tried to avoid it, but there was a problem. And now, with the problem for the number 2 car, the number 1 car joins Joe at his feet.
That's the first place car, number 4. It's the Ginetta of Charlie Robertson bringing it in. He'll be handing this car over to the Cage Tiger, who we just spoke to, kind of preempting him getting into the car. Simon Murray, who's been waiting around since yesterday. Remember, this is the car that's had that repair. We heard Michael Simpson describing how back at the Ginetta Works, they engineered a repair process that they were able to implement here across yesterday and overnight. And the number 4, clearly job well done, because it's gone out there. Charlie Robertson starting way behind the field and coming through, making a bit of a video game kind of aspect for him as he made his way through the field, slicing and dicing through the field. We're down off the jacks, and all we are doing now as that rear left-hand brake smokes merrily, seeing how heavily the brakes are being used. Now the rear of the car, the brakes don't get used half as much as the front of the car. Usually about 40%, 60-40, 59-61 split is the case. Already we're getting the tyres rolled out for the number 6 Ginetta, which will be coming in a moment. John Corbett will take over the number 6, but right now Simon Murray is being pushed out of the way while he fires the car up. He'll have the door slammed on him, and that car, the leading car,
number 6 behind you.
out of its off the pit apron and will turn right into refueling. Don't forget to do that, Simon. We talked earlier about him blasting out the pit lane, and then here comes the number 6. Very, very well drilled Simpson Motorsport pit stops these. As Neil Muston brings the car, this one a little bit different livery, and it's virgin black carbon fibre without any kind of wrapping on it. Neil Muston jumps out of the car, well done to him, and it's John Corbett, the Australian, who will be getting in. The driver assist part of the team, responsible part of the team there, just gets the belts slackened off for John Corbett to slink into. He slips into the orifice that is the Ginetta G57. It's barely wide enough for certainly someone like me to get in there, but John Corbett's managed to slide in there, and now he's having his belts done up. Brand new set of Hankook tyres already on the car, windscreen being cleaned as the driver continues. It seems to be that the most time-taking aspect of these pit stops is installing the driver. Door now shut though, belts are done up. There's that burbling engine note as the car burbles away from its pit apron and off into the refueling area. We'll get a word with the two drivers that have just handed over. Charlie Robertson out of the number 4 and Neil Muston out of the number 6. Just gone into the garage now to cool off. We'll grab them and have a word with them.
Pure Chevrolet grunt, that, as it just burbles its way down the pit lane. Actually, a very short distance before you need to turn right into the fueling area. What's the turning circle like in the fueling area this year? Same as usual?
Yeah, I went down. I think there will be 10 pumps for next weekend. Not sure how many are running today, but it's exactly the same outlines before. They can get round quite easily. It's not challenging the sports cars with their limited lock.
Yes, because certain venues we go to, obviously...
We've got Charlie Robertson now for you guys.
It's difficult. Oh, yeah, sorry, Joe. Go ahead with Charlie.
I'm still up, yeah.
You are.
Oh, hello.
Charlie, that was very exciting to watch. A bit like a video game, I would imagine, for you, once you caught the field.
Yeah, it went exactly to plan, really. I only got the call last night that I was going to be driving today. Luckily, the Simpson boys worked really, really hard to get the car back out on track after the issue yesterday, and credit to them. They've worked the socks off. So yeah, really, really happy to be able to jump in at a track like this. I haven't done much around here, but it's a brilliant track, especially in the G57. It's just nailed to the floor. Pleasure to drive, and I knew I had good pace. So as soon as I could see the Speedworks car in front, just got my head down, just little by little. Wasn't really pushing, and then after I got past them, I thought, let's try and bang in a fast lap, and we did. We got fastest lap as well, so yeah, really happy.
Yeah, fastest lap we've seen all weekend. Now, you've been part of the Ginetta project from the outset, Charlie. Was that the reason behind installing you in as a driver this morning, just to ensure that number 4 is exactly as it should be?
Yeah, so obviously we had the issue yesterday with the car, which was unfortunate, something that doesn't usually happen. And one of the drivers decided not to race today. If that's a decision, so that's fine. Luckily, I was here with all my kit, which was a good call from me, really, just to actually be able to have everything here, just to go out. So really, it was a last-minute thing. Very happy to be able to get in the car as always, and to show what I can do.
So, as a professional racing driver, do you ever fly anywhere without your racing kit?
I wouldn't advise on it, because you never know when you might get the call, and it's always good to have some kit in your bag.
Great to watch, Charlie. Great to watch. Are you out in the car this afternoon?
I will be, yes, I will be.
We look forward to that. Well done, Charlie Robertson.
So done for the morning, but one more race to come later on today, as Joe describes, between 3 and 6 p.m.
I think Joe needs to get himself beetling back up again, because it's gone crazy in the pit lane. We've now seen, whilst we're chatting there to Charlie Robinson, the complete pit stop by the 44, Michael Broncheski in the Graf car. Came in second place, wasn't actually net second. He'll be handing that one over to Giacomo Pacini. Also, the 22 Speedworks car has served his 10-second stop go for the jump start and is now just completing his full service as well. Not sure which driver got in there. So it is feast or famine down the pit lane, Joe. You've had what, all bar the CN1 cars all in within the space of about 4 minutes.
Yeah, very quick. I'm going to say turnaround, not quite. A quick succession of stops for the CN1, so they're going to do about the same sort of distance, not on fuel, well, possibly on fuel as well, but we're not within their fuel limitations quite yet. We know the smaller prototypes can do about 90 minutes, and therefore if they need to, just a single stop for a 3-hour race. We're already into the second hour now, 1 hour and 56 to go, and coming out of the right-hander at turn 10 is the I was going to say Italian entered Ligier. It's actually technically a Swiss team, although that is Swiss flagged. More for the benefits of the way the tax works in Switzerland, I believe. The AF Corsa crew effectively changing their name.
It's very cheap to be an entrant in Switzerland.
Or to be from Switzerland.
If you enter, if you become a Swiss entrant, the actual license from the Swiss equivalent of the RAC or the MSA costs about a tenth of what it costs from the MSA, which is why the original reason why Rebellion, or Speedy C-Bar as they were known originally, registered themselves as Swiss was to save money, and then by doing that they end up with a Swiss sponsor. But that is the reason why there are so many Swiss flag teams. The entrance license is the cheapest in Europe.
Yeah, and of course Switzerland still has no motorsport venue. That stretches back to the 50s.
But it does have a race this year. It doesn't have a race in the Formula E this year.
Does it?
I think it was touting for one.
Okay.
A street race in Geneva.
Oh,
I could be completely wrong about that. It could have been a rumour I read on a well-known but disreputable website. But I think they were looking to get a Formula E race this year or next.
Right.
Because obviously it's ecological and everything and that sort of stuff.
Yes, that's a good.
You can go and look at this. If I got this horrendously wrong, I didn't say anything.
You're allowed to get it wrong, but I'm at least interested by the fact that it might happen. It looks like it is going to happen.
Ah, I was right.
10th of June this year.
There we go.
The Zurich E-Prix.
Got the wrong town, but apart from that, it's going well.
Is TBA.
Yeah, it's a street track.
Yeah, well, yes, but as in the title of the track is TBA then, because you could just call it the Zurich Street Circuit, because the Paris E-Prix is the Paris Street Circuit.
I'm pretty certain they'll be saying sponsorship to someone. It'll be the Tag Heuer or the Timex one or something. Something Swiss and watchy.
Gotcha.
I expect. But yeah, so that will be the first proper. They have been doing hill climbs for a while, and I think they've had a rally stages. But they actually the first what you would think as a motor race since the Swiss banned track-based motor racing in 1955, following the tragic accident at Le Mans that year.
Yeah.
So waiting for everything to sort itself out. It's taking a while for the various staggers to unwind, but it does mean we have a 1-2 for the Normans at the moment, who haven't come in the pits yet. Francois Kerman and David Christini lead this race by best part of a lap, because they've not done the 4-minute or so pit stop, which is how long it takes when you include fueling cars as well. Remember, they fuel at the end of the pit, so you do all your driving, tyres and belting and that sort of stuff. Then they have to trundle down and fuel up. So it's two separate events. And the second of those events, takes a long time. There's none pumping in at high speed. It's pumped in with a pistol grip like you find at your local Tisco. And still ferreting around the pit lane, young Mr. Joe Bradley.
Local Tesco. I thought you said local disco. I couldn't work that out at all for a moment. But yes, I'm entirely with you now.
You don't drink fuel at discos, then?
Local. Not these days. Not these days. Here's Joe Bradley in the pit lane.
I'm with Keir Van Berlo, who's a very fit, athletic 17-year-old. And look how hard it is that he's been working. That's how hot it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Really hot in the car. It's incredible. Yeah.
Now, Keir, you've got a lot of karting experience. Is this, I believe, your first car race this weekend?
Yeah, I got 7 years of karting experience. Now my first race in race cars, in prototype. So, yeah, really cool. Really enjoyed it.
A completely different experience from karting, though, these cars.
Yeah, it's completely different between this and karting. Just the basics are the same. You learn how to overtake and all things like that.
Are you aware of the penalty that's been imposed on you for the start infringement?
Yes, I know. I'm aware of the penalty, but not. Yeah, I pushed the brakes, but it was too late.
All right, so I think you've brought that from karting.
Yeah.
Because in karting, that's the done thing, I believe.
You need to be as soon, away.
Tell us a little bit about the car. The car had a problem yesterday. No, but that looked like there's no more problems.
Yeah, we got a technical failure yesterday. Jack did a great stint. I got in the car, put throttle out of the pits, and nothing happened. So
we spoke earlier to someone who actually it was the Kuwaiti guys in the Radical, and they said they'd done lots of karting in preparation. Karting's still a great way of keeping fit for this kind of activity.
Yeah, karting is a great way to start your career. You learn all the basics, you get fit, you learn how to overtake, how to push. So I think it's the best way to start your career.
And talking of a career, Keir, what's your aspirations? Here we are in Dubai. You're driving an LMP3 prototype, or a P3 prototype, I should say. And we're going to race again this afternoon. What's the rest of the year have in store for Keir van Berlo?
We don't know much about the rest of the year. This is just a test for me, just to do some experience about the prototype car, and we will decide later what we're going to do next year.
Karting or cars?
I think cars, and I will prototype.
Excellent, great stuff. Keir van Berlo, great stint from this guy. Great first stint, led the race until the P2 car came up upon him, but as we can see, he's already a very experienced karter, and he's transferred that into car racing.
Joe, can I ask you something? Is this handshaking you're doing everyone new? Have you just started doing that, or have I just never seen you do it before?
Hang on a minute, sorry, Joe.
You just haven't noticed, have you? I don't know, I think it's the sportsman within me.
I don't mean you've literally shaken the hand of every single person you've spoken
everyone.
to. No, every single person you've shaken their hand.
Actually, hang on.
I'm just worried whether you got your hand sanitizer for later.
Pier Giuseppe, yes I did. Michael, yes I did.
Everyone on the grid.
Everybody on the grid, yeah. It's just friendly. I'm friendly, Nick.
I don't know. I just never noticed you do it before.
You shook my hand this morning as he knocked on my hotel room door.
It's a lovely thing to do. I just never realised you're quite so tactile.
I didn't think I was this tactile.
Our northeastern men supposed to be bluff and and unresponsive.
Sorry, it was unresponsive.
Anyway, in that 22 car replacing Keir van Berlo, it's actually Konstantin Gukaev, which means that Jack Boutel will be taking the last stint.
Good. Thank you for that. That's Nick Damon there, our resident northeast disliker. I don't know. You're tarring a lot of people with the same brush there, and maybe we should really move on a great deal. I have a funny feeling he's just targeting perhaps just one or two people. There's the number 4 car heading into turns 8 and 9. The 4 so far holding firm after that work that was done late on yesterday evening into this morning, but they must be thinking down at Ginetta, how long is our handiwork going to stay firm for? Because, I mean, this is quite a rough track in places, particularly if you clobber the curb.
Well, they might be liable.
It's a stressful circuit.
Also, they might be liable for a penalty because they haven't changed the driver ID on Charlie Robinson.
That's true.
So someone needs to click the driver ID on the car 4. I'm not sure whether they actually will issue a penalty for that. They might just have a bit of a word, but that should, of course, be Simon Murray, the ebullient South African who we've spoken to before he got in. But interestingly, Kurtman and Christini 1-2 in the craft racing. I've just suddenly thought about something here. There's a possibility, actually, they could be doing rather better than we thought because they will only need to fuel once.
Yes.
Whereas all the other cars will need to fuel twice. So everyone left now has one fueling. So is this actually a real lead?
Yeah, I suppose it is, because the cars run to a very different fuel window and are therefore a little more frugal with their fuel as well. Speaking of the CN1 class, here is the other member of it, the 177, down with Joe Bradley in the pits.
Yeah, the Radical has been brought in, and it is very similar to the Mile 7 Benetton livery, isn't it? I can see what Nick means. I can also see what Nick means by Mohammed Al-Hassawi's helmet livery, which is very similar to Nelson Piquet's. Apart from Nelson Piquet's being red and white, it's kind of got the same sort of circular kind of loop design, albeit it's black and light blue on Al-Hassawi's helmet. But I can see where Nick was going with that. This is a pretty straightforward pit stop for these guys. Now, I do note that they are not changing tyres at all. The only thing they've done is change the driver. And out of the car's got Salam Al-Nusif. Into the car's got Mohammed Al-Hassawi. The engine's already fired, just having his belts done up. And obviously this Radical SR3 very, very light on its tyres, as it's after an hour and just over an hour and 10 minutes, it's still got tyres good enough to continue with the race. We talked yesterday, guys, about seat inserts. Now, what I've just come across on the floor of the garage are these things. These are seat inserts, bit of Velcro on the back. But this is how important driver comfort is. Let's get a word with Mohammed Al-Nusif. I'm going to give you them. They're very important. Mohammed Al-Nusif, We're just talking about your seat inserts and how important they are. You're skinnier than your teammates, aren't you?
Yeah, much skinnier. They're in the 90s, I'm the 73. There's like 15 to 20 kg more than me. So the hips start to cramp up if I don't have enough support.
Yeah, because you kind of flop around the car, yeah?
Yeah. Holding myself in the high-speed corners.
So what's it like at dinner with you guys? Do you keep pushing the salad option to your teammates?
You keep pushing what? The salad? They always talk about me. Yeah.
How was that? I did notice as well, you've kept the same tyres, yeah?
No, these are the new tyres for this race.
Oh, do you change tyres there?
Right now?
Yeah.
No change.
Right, that's what I thought.
Yeah, no change. It was much better than the tyres I used yesterday. We used the used tyres yesterday. These are brand new. They felt much better. The track, the circuit, the laps were much better.
Yeah, and the radical must be very easy on the tyres because you don't need to change them.
Yeah. Yesterday we did the practice and the race on the same tyres and nothing happened. It was like very good. Yeah, we're happy about that.
And you guys are still having a great time, yeah?
Sorry?
You guys are really enjoying this race?
Yeah, we are. We're enjoying the long stints. It's something new to us. Like 30 laps. Oh, that was amazing. We were focused on the racing, and it was fun. It was great.
Well, you've got this afternoon to go. And Mohammed, here we go, Nick. I'm going to shake Mohammed's hand as well and pat his shoulder. Apparently, I'm very tactile. I don't know. I'm going to continue that, though. Thanks, Mohammed. Great stuff, guys.
I think we need a full hug. Full hug.
Actually, he was the guy to hug because he's hardly sweating. He's a Kuwaiti, so this is like it's winter.
It's cold. He's going to put a jumper on.
Yeah.
Back to race. More bad news for the 22 car with Creventic. He is being called to the steward, probably to explain why you jumped the start, which you already knew how he jumped the start.
Yeah.
Now we're up and running again. It's still Francois Kirkman who's leading. They haven't come in with the CN1 cars. Now, interestingly, Simon Murray in the Ginetta is doing 157s compared to the 151.5 top whack of that car. Konstantin Gukev is doing 159, so he's quite slow actually compared to the 153s that were done by his teammate. John Corbett, as we know, is doing a 157, so he's a second or slower than we saw Neil Muston. So no one's got their fast guy in, apart from the number 44 Graf car, currently running in 6th place, which has got Giacomo Piccini. He's just done that car's fastest lap of all, a 155.8. Still a good couple of seconds off the fastest we've seen from a P3 car, which was, of course, set by Creventic in the supposedly removed 22 car. That's what Mike Sims said, not me. So none of the erstwhile top 3 cars before the pit stops, or top 4 cars, have put in their rabbits. They've all put, or their hares, should I say, they've all put in their gentleman drivers, and so it's a chance for Piccini now to use his hour to haul that 44 car back into contention. The 48 Spirit of Race is staying on the island, which is a big improvement for Crichton Lendues from last year, but the lap times, they ain't so hot, 2:01. So still looking pretty good for the number 4 car amongst the prototypes, because they are the fastest, if not as fast. But last time round, he did a 157.2. Francois Kerman in the Craft Racing Norma did a 158.5. And you think, well, that's fine, he's losing a second a lap. The thing is, I think the Norma is sitting on a 2-minute advantage by not having to refuel twice, even a 2.5 minute
advantage.
Yeah,
okay.
Fueling takes 2 to 2.5 minutes. So if they got a 2.5 minute advantage, which, given the fact we got, how many laps we get yesterday? The total number of laps run was 82. We lost about 5 for code 60, so you look at 87 laps. If you're saving 140 seconds, that's a second and a half a lap.
Yes, it is.
So are we looking at the Norma effectively being net in the lead? I think it's actually net in third. It might have been net in second, but they are still, even though they've not shown at all, I think when we get to the final half hour, they could well be fighting once again to get that 98 car onto the podium overall.
Well, David Christini looking to be, in this phase of the race, slightly quicker than Francois Kerman. So gap last time around came down between the 98 and the 97 cars. They're first and second. Simon Murray of South Africa running in third then in the number 4 Ginetta G57. And his time is quicker than the 2 Crafts ahead. But that car is... So we're saying that's not on the lead lap, aren't we? Yes. Certainly not on the same lap as the 98 car. Might just about be on the same lap as David Christini, though.
Yeah, it's the same as Christini. It's just I'm just waiting to see the next sector time ping up and see who goes first. But it's more than the lap behind. Simon Murray's more than the lap behind Francois Kerman, who actually just put his car's best first sector in. But you know, they are going to be a couple of seconds, or even more, a lap slower. But I think I'm not sure if they're actually really even racing the Simon Murray car, the 4 car. They may well be racing the 22 car for second overall.
Yep. Kerman's just heading into 16 and out of 16 now, and through the kink at 13 comes Simon Murray, but that's not the gap, as I say, with them on the same lap. It's a lap and a few corners effectively that separate Simon Murray in the quickest Ginetta G57 at this point. Charlie Robertson's formerly driven car.
Kerman just got the hurry up from you. After you dissed his last lap, he's now gone on his fastest lap of the race, the 1:57.3. So he's basically heard that Johnny's had to go at him for a dodgy lap, and he's gone, I'm not having that. I'm not having that.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Instant response.
He's rushing back the pits to get the Joe Bradley handshake. That's what he's doing.
We've got more of an influence on this race than I could have ever imagined. So now we want David Christini to up the pace a little bit. Is that rear bodywork on the rear right flapping a bit more
he's
than
got
it needs to be?
Slightly loose rear tail panel on the 97 car.
I think I noticed that a few times yesterday.
But that is the less important car, because I think that's the Christini car, which isn't as fast in its other drivers either.
Yes.
So last time this 98 run, Francois Kerman for about an hour and a half, an hour and 40 minutes. Then they just put in the Daniel Kerman for about half an hour. Then Mark Vivet finished the car off, and they made themselves third overall. Bacchini's still moving forward. He's not. It's interesting. He hasn't got, and you would think he would do. He hasn't got anywhere near the pace we saw from Kayvan Buller. I didn't see whether I think they did change tyres. We have seen a big increase in track temperature, which would be slowing the cars down slightly. Though in fairness, Charlie Robinson set a very, very quick time within perhaps 20 minutes ago, 25 minutes ago. So, but there is kind of an exponential gain in track temperature at this time of day when the sun comes up and it really heats up very quickly. Again, a lot of degrees of track temperature very, very quickly.
So Konstantin Gukayev took over the 22 car from Kayvan Berlo, the Dutchman, and that means that still to come in the 22 is Jack Butel. So don't discount the 22 from certainly a top 3 finish in this race. It's slipped back to 4th spot now for the Sandbach-based Speedworks Motorsport crew, run by Christian and Amy Dick, husband and wife team. And a chance to catch up with Christian briefly at the start of the race. The team were at COTA as well, running in Aston Martin. I seem to remember in the neighbouring garage to that driven by John Hindhaugh. The two Astons sat together.
Was John Hindhaugh driving at COTA?
I seem to remember he did something or other.
It's not like he's mentioned it.
I'd forgotten he was even there because he wasn't part of the on-air crew.
Well, that's talking about on-air crew. Chris Suku, who is tweeting us, and please, all of you tweet us at RC Racing, at Bradders 3078, at Blackpool Johnny, and we will look at them, read them, and if they're of interest, read them out.
And include the hashtag.
Oh, yes.
This is Endurance, which is the new strapline, the new hashtag for 24H Series Racing for 2018.
No longer do you have to dare to cross your borders, which none of us understood.
That's kind of an unwritten rule still.
Really, yes. It wasn't that frightening to cross your borders unless you're in the East Germany in 1983.
But hashtag This is Endurance
is great.
It's far more easy to understand and to comprehend, I would argue.
Well, also, we checked out This is Endurance. I checked the hashtag out, and it has been used a little bit for endurance motorcycle racing. But the first, if you check out, this is the first post. This is from random guy, and he goes, "Married for 15 years. Hashtag This is Endurance."
Fair comment.
But Chris Suku has tweeted to us, and he has said, having seen Joe with a layer off in his shorts, shaking everyone's hand, he said, Dubai be the perfect location for race reporting by Shay. She'd only need 2 layers.
Yeah, that's also a good point.
Rather than the 17 she's currently wearing for the Royal Before the 24 test. And if you want to follow the Royal Before the 24, there will be coverage again this evening. There was a live race coverage yesterday, probably about 9 o'clock local time here, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. If you go to the Radio Le Mans website, there'll be podcasts of all of the race events, and also there's been end-of-day roundups and interviews. So if you're interested in what's happening over in America and over in Daytona in the Raw before the 24, of course, there will be full live coverage on Radio Show Limited in 2 weeks' time. Johnny will be there, Joe will be there, and I'll be at Education Exhibition at the London.
Sorry about that. Really, really very sorry about that.
And we have 98 coming. Our leader is in the pits, Joe.
And Joe, go ahead whenever you can. Just a reminder that the coverage live from the Raw before the 24 Daytona features on IMSA Radio on RS2. Because we have the ability now this year, as we did the back end of last year, to broadcast on 3 separate broadcast points, if you like, 3 different channels. RS1, RS2, RS3. RS3 comes into the equation when we have very busy weekends with things like VLN happening as well. But RS1 for us this weekend and RS2 for IMSA Radio.
And looks like the 98 pit stop's been pretty standard. They certainly, obviously, Francois Kerman's got out. We can't quite work out who's got in. My guess is it will almost 50-50, but I'm going to lean slightly on the Daniel Kerman getting in next. Again, quite leisurely on the straps. Now, I thought they'd got a massive hurry up because they may have worked out they might have a chance of getting on the podium overall again. They will obviously peel off 1 hour 24 minutes effectively they came in there, so that's just about halfway, because don't forget that you do a lap to the pits and 2 warm-up laps before you start the race. So if you're actually trying to divide the race exactly half and half on fuel, including your pit stops, you come in about 1:25. And then they're rolling off and away, and they were stationary for 1 minute 50 seconds, which is less than some of the other cars. Some of the cars were stationary for about 1 minute 50 before they actually, about 2 minutes 10, before they got going. This now puts David Christini into the lead of the race, which I'm pretty certain he wouldn't have thought would have happened if you asked him in the pit. Do you think you're going to lead the race, David? No. But he's had the lucky handshake, so he is now up and away and leading the race. But my guess is he'll be in this lap or the next. They'll just break into, well, it's not this lap as he goes past and round turn 60 underneath the new hotel, sweeping down the main straight. But this now means that Simon Murray has moved into 2nd place in the Simpson Motorsport car. Konstantin Gukev will come into 3rd, and I think John Corbett into 4th. And the question is whether Pacini will be in front of Kerman's replacement. My guess is he will. My guess is Crichton Lendeldis with his 2:02 laps will be nowhere near, and will be dropping back in and staying in 7th place.
Yeah, Lendeldis just heading down the long straight between turns 9 and 10 now, and he has several cars in his wake, actually, including the John Corbett-driven number 6 machine, but they are not on the same lap. The 177 car now with Mohammed Al-Hassawi at the wheel from AUH Motorsport, the little radical SR3 RSX, producing its 220 brake horsepower. Very neat little car, that. SR3s have been around for 10 or 15 years now, but they are fun little track day cars, kind of designed for 30, 40-minute races, and the chaps there generally doing 25-minute stints previous to this, but I'm pleased that they've found it, relatively speaking, pretty easy, actually. They were braced for really tiresome stints, but clearly the car's very nimble and not as wearing steering-wise as the Craft Racing Normas are. No power-assisted steering, certainly on the Normas, and I know it's a lot of hard work. It's bicep building work to get this car around in an hour or an hour and 15-minute stint. So there is the new race leader, David Christini, heading into the kink at 13, and now the braking area for turn 14.
They're a very, very undramatic car on the track, aren't they? They look undramatic. They look like they're on rails. My guess is, as Joe's alluded to, these things have got a lot of downforce and not a lot of power, which means they are stuck to the ground, which makes them very physical. As into the pits comes Ali and Christini, but they do. When you look at them from those higher angles, you can see the thing is literally just nailed by aero, and therefore it's good. It's 200 horsepower down the P3, but it's got that extra grip to make the lap time. But of course, again on the Hankook tyre, 97 trundles down the pit lane. He will give up the lead very quickly because.
It's one Craft car in, one Craft car out. Because the 98's...
one Craft car shaking all about?
Not quite. We need a third one for that. We initially, on the entry list, actually, we did have 3 AUH Motorsport radicals. So hoping in the future, AUH will very much enjoy their venture into the Proto Series. They were here 12 months ago as well. It's just a question of making sure they've got the signatures in place and the drivers so that we can have potentially 3 radicals in future years. Joe Bradley will be very close to David Christini, the race leader, who's come in for a pit stop, Joe.
I am indeed. The 97 car pulls up. And again, we're seeing these CN1 cars not needing any change of tyres. Now, these cars are on a different tyre altogether than what we see on the other prototypes and what we're going to see next week on our GT cars. Completely different tyre construction whatsoever. And I can't...
So it's different construction. Is it a different compound?
They're not on
they
are, sorry. Yes, they are. They're a Hankook Ventus. Now, I'm not sure about compound, but certainly the sidewall, for instance, on the rear tyre, which I'm looking over the shoulder of the tyre guy now, is a lot flatter and the profile of the tyre is huge.
Yeah, Joe, do you remember yesterday I was saying they look like old-fashioned car tyres? It was like they're the same size front and rear, and I was alluding to like touring car racing in the 70s, the Vauxhall Viva sort of tyres.
Yeah, very much so. They've got like a 185 70 13 or something.
Exactly, I love it. I love that. At least they're not cross plies, eh?
You know what? They could be. They actually could be. I'm going to ask the Hankook guy. Let's have a word with David Christini, who's just gotten out of the car. I'm not sure that's. Let me think. Who's gotten into the car? I think it's Trev who's gotten into the car. That car's already fired up. And there's Max beside me, so it definitely is David Christini, who's just sharing stories. Come and share those stories with us. So, I got the gist of what you were saying there. You had a bit of incident on the track, did you?
No, but it was crazy sometimes because when you have to fight with somebody, they don't see you, so they changed the way, and I broke a little bit of a polystyrene number 100. I broke one piece.
But David, you are smiling, so you enjoyed that.
Yeah, but it was good. It was good. When there is some fighting, it's good because there is not so many cars. But we do a good run now. We have just to finish, and if the car don't break this time, we can win.
Yes. Well, you've kept Max out of the car. Where is Max?
No.
Get Max.
Max will be the last one. Now,
right.
No, it's Regis. Regis is on the car.
So who was in the car? Was Max in the car when it broke?
No, it's Regis Treff now in the car, and then Max will finish. But Regis have his heel.
But wasn't Max in the car last year when it broke?
Yeah.
And Max was in the car yesterday.
And yesterday, yeah, he do the last lap, the last step, but 2 times broken.
So you're putting Max in the car now?
Yeah.
The next time?
Yeah. So we have to pray. I will go to the church to pray.
Yes, go to them. There's a mosque as well if you want to pray to every god that is out there.
Yeah, that's great.
Thanks, David.
Thanks.
A very smiling David Christini there who enjoyed his stay.
He was backing away from you. You were touching him so much then.
Yes, I was. I was made uncomfortable, wasn't it?
You were literally, you couldn't have invaded his personal space more. You've had an attack helicopter.
I was hoping that he didn't just say that Regis is ill. I thought he said Regis is ill, so whether he's suffering some sort of
now remember,
illness.
it was David Christini who said fatigue yesterday and had us all sort of
worried.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if he's poorly, then he's doing a tremendous job because Regis Treff has been showing some tremendous speed all weekend. So they put him in now. Ill driver potentially, but not ill car, fingers crossed. If you weren't around for our coverage of yesterday's race, that car, very nicely placed indeed, crawled and ground to a halt on the main straight. Nick Damon had a perfect view of it because he clambered up onto the pit wall and just peered across the other side over the wall, and there it was.
Watching the mass confusion of the tow truck. I'm afraid the 98 car, the teammate of the craft racing car, is effectively evaporating its chances of a podium and overall lead because I'm afraid Daniel Kerman is doing 207s and 209s. So he is the least quick of the drivers in that team, and they'll probably, as I said, they gave him half an hour last time. They might give him half an hour this time, but it's just going to cost them any chance because they lost a minute or minute and a half just because he's not as quick as the others. So Murray takes the lead overall now. We'll just about shuffle through. Konstantin Gukaev is second and virtually a minute now behind the Simpson Motorsport in G57 in his Ligier from Speedworks. John Corbett does take third. He's a minute and 36 back from the lead and therefore just shy of 40 seconds behind Gukiev. On that lead lap as well is Giacomo Puccini in the Ligier JS3, the 44 car. He is running in 4th, 1 minute and 43 behind Simon Murray, but more importantly, he's 45 seconds behind his class leader, which is the Speedworks machine, the 22, and the rest are not on the same lap. The 48 Spirit of Race is falling off a dramatic pace due to Crichton Len Dudis running it in the over 2 minutes. Mohamed Al Hassawi, of course, 1.7 AU in Motorsport. That car will be the last of the runners when it comes in, but the last of the runners was good enough for a second in class last time, so they may still manage to get a pretty good result. But it's settled down now after that first set of pit stops, and I think the early excitement we may have had about 98, 97 being able to do something a bit special may be easing back now as they get into the meat of their driver lineup.
4 cars remain on the lead lap, though. Simon Murray just heading into the second sector now. He's at turn 9, and there is a significant gap back to Konstantin Gukayev of Russia, who is in car 22 and just heading into turn 16 now. So it's about a half a lap advantage, I would say. In terms of time distance, that is... Over the line goes Gukayev. It's 1 minute and 2 seconds, 1 minute and 3 seconds pretty much.
It's gone up 4 seconds in the last lap.
Between Simon Murray and Konstantin Gukayev. Simpson Motorsport, Speedworks Motorsport, P2 versus P3, and then John Corbett. Now we would be expecting that John Corbett, being in a G57, will be able to catch Konstantin Gukayev. So let's see what John's time is at the end of lap 46 for the other G57. John, on his performance yesterday, is the slowest of the 3 drivers in that number 6 Ginetta G57. He's done a 1:57.5, which is faster than Gukayev, though. So about 3 seconds quicker, in fact. So the number 6 car needs to chase down 22.
Yeah, that car, we'll get to, in the final hour, we will hopefully see Jack Boutel versus Jordan Simpson between the 22 and the 6. So that should be a little bit of a fun run-off, because I think by the time they get there, Corbett should have closed down Guka by pretty much down to nothing, I would think. So you look at the best time we've seen from Neil Muston, who's the first in that number 6 car, is 1:55.4. John Corbett's been doing late 56, early 57s most of the time, so he's a second and a half slower. The ultimate pace of that car, or the pace of that design of car, we've seen is a 1:51.5 put in by Charlie Robinson, the system machine. So there's a lot of pace there. And so Jordan yesterday was finding it no problem in doing 1:55, high 55. So yeah, I think we're going to have we could get ourselves another interesting battle in the final hour for second. But the Simpson Motorsport 4 car that's run faultlessly so far, started from the back of the grid, took the lead after about 6 laps or 7 laps, and now is easing itself away. Simon Murray is actually, against his peers, which are the gentleman drivers, with the exception of Giacomo Puccini, is comfortably also about over 3 or 4 laps as quick as theirs. That car is just easing away from the field now, and with Mike Simpson to come, you can't see them at the end without any snafus or slip-ups having a major problem at this point. But there is so much more racing to go, because this is endurance.
This is entirely endurance, and out of turn 2 goes the number 22 car driven by Konstantin Gukayev, being chased down by John Corbett. Gukayev at the moment in a Craft Racing sandwich, because he's having to lap both the 97 and the 98. The 98's just ahead of him, and that's the 97, I think. Yes, it is. So just ahead of that car will be 2 machines. They're level pegging, in fact, and going round turn 9 now. Gukayev is able to pick off the driver of the 98, Daniel Kerman. Still leading CN1, by the way. And actually, we've got a bit of a battle developing for the lead of CN1, an Intercraft Racing strat for 5th and 6th places overall. So Regis Treff in the CN1 number 97 car. Regis Treff has, as I say, potentially a little bit poorly this weekend, if what his teammate said was correct, and how I understood it anyway, David Christini. But sensibly, they're keeping the man that brings all the bad luck to that car, Max Bortolami. Going to be introducing him to that car as late on as they can. So we'll wait to see whether the bad luck follows again. Into the right-hander at turn 10 goes one of the other Ginetta G57s. Slow exit out of 10 though, and right on his tail is Giacomo Piccini. This is a battle for position. It's for third and fourth. An LMP2 car, or a P2 car up against an LMP3 machine, and Giacomo Piccini offering much more speed out of turn 12 towards the kink at 13. And we're in a very similar situation now as we were at the start of yesterday's race, where John Corbett does struggle to get the power down in that 6.2 litre Chevrolet engined Ginetta G57, and the slightly more nimble Ligier in the graph colours looking like it's on course.
I
for
wonder
third
why this has
position.
come so close, because Corbett had a rotten lap last lap round. He did a two minutes flat rather than the 1:56 he was doing. Something what I thought would take a while for Piccini to creep up on the back of it, and it took a lap because Corbett just didn't put it together in the last. He's back on the 1:57, so he must have had a minor mistake in the previous lap, lost 3 or 4 seconds. Piccini now hunting him down, but coming down the main straight, the big 6.2 litre Corvette engine, or well, there's 3 engine, which is a Corvette engine, stretches its legs and pulls away from the Nissan 5 litre V8, which is heavily restricted in the LMP3s. But now onto the twisty section as they go round to T4 and T5. It'll begin to come back into the advantage of the more nimble P3 with the more experienced race driver in Giacomo Piccini. So Corbett, who did find this when he started the race yesterday, that after a while he just got swamped by a couple of the P3s. At least he's got warm tyres on now, so you won't have the car won't be as unwieldy as it can seem to be at the start of a race. And we did see Neil Muston have some issues. They go up the back straight.
Really good fight now in CN1 as well, with the two craft cars finding each other. Regis Treff 2.5 seconds off the back of Daniel Kerman at the start of this lap. Well, they're virtually together now at turn 12. Let's see who breaks the timing loop at the end of sector 2. It's 97, just ahead of 98. So Regis Treff has indeed taken the CN1 class lead then on lap 48. The two craft racing cars switch places. They're into the hairpin now at turn 14. Daniel Kerman needs, if at all possible, needs to hang on to the coattails here of the Treff car.
I don't think it is Regis Treff in that car.
I thought we said it was Regis Treff and then it'd be Max for the final stint.
I thought they were putting Max in because he was the bad luck charm when he went last.
Ooh, right, okay.
A bit confused about that.
It was Regis who said...
I was more concerned with the way that Joe was touching him up than anything else, to be honest.
Yeah. I think David was saying that Max was still in the back of the garage, being given 4-leaf clovers and all sorts of horseshoes to take on board with him.
That's the way you're down a horseshoe, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose.
That's extra ballast.
Very lucky. So the change in CN1 is confirmed at the line, and Treff is the name against the car on the screen. So until we know otherwise, let's say it's Regis at the wheel, and Daniel Kerman slipping back to 6th place overall now. Cretan Lendudis in the Spirit of Race Ligier JSP3 is in 7th position. That's the 3rd placed P3 car, therefore. And that's a car in the pits, being number 48. I mentioned Creton, and he arrives in pit lane. So the Italian run...
The damage is done.
Or Swiss flagged team deciding now to do a driver change, you have to think. Creton Lendudis, an historic racer, does some stuff with the Ferrari Racing Days events as well at Corsa Clienti. Not sure whether he therefore owns an old Ferrari Formula 1 car. I'm sure he does. And they travel around Europe and to other places as well, a bit further afield, racing those 10, 15-year-old Ferrari single-seaters. To Joe Bradley then, who's watching this stop down at Spirit of Race.
Well, I am indeed, Johnny. The driver's still not out of the car. He is now being assisted by this new regulation we have this year for 2018 in Creventic Racing. We'll see a man wearing a green vest, and his job is solely to assist the driver in getting out of the car and then assist the next driver to get into the car. And it's quite a responsible job. And as we found, the tyre's already on the number 48. As the car is about to be let off the jacks. The longest part, or the most time-taking part of these pit stops, is inserting the driver. Another adjustment of the mirrors. This was the car that called into the pits out of the first time out of the whole field. So these guys just running through their strategy with just coming up to 1 hour and 15 minutes remaining. This might be the last time we see this car in the pits, because I do believe these cars can stretch beyond the hour. It would seem a bit of a shame if it had to pit in 1 hour's time. Car off the jacks, about to fire up. You can hear that. The beautiful dulcet tone of the engine. And he stalls as he picks away. Very hard to keep the car moving on the clutch. Very sensitive clutches on these Ligiers. And now he gets it going. That's it. Rev it, man. Rev it. That's what you have to do. Turns right into the fueling area. Now Crichton Lendudis is just getting his helmet off, and then we'll get a word with him. Just at the back of the garage there. I'll go and drag him forward before he debriefs. He'll debrief with us before he debriefs with the team manager. Sorry, guys. Oh, he's disappeared. Your driver has disappeared. Okay, great stuff. We're just going to get Crichton Lendudis, who's he hasn't walked off deliberately. He's walked off to where the shelves are, where they store the helmets, which you might be able to see on Seb's camera. He's just getting sorted there, getting his helmet off. It's very hot work here in these closed cockpits cars. We'll give him 2 minutes, guys, and when he comes back out after he's stored his helmet in that cooling shelf, we'll have a word with him, I think.
All right.
The cool Spirit of Race ran through all 4 drivers yesterday. My guess is they're going to run through all 4 again. I don't know, I'm not sure whether it's right. Ri Aguas or Marco Ciocci, who got into the car, but my guess is they'll do 40 minutes each and run through all 4 drivers again. They're not really in competition for anything, really, because they've got a driver lineup that doesn't have the ultimate pace it requires. And I think it's quite interesting seeing Spirit of Race doing some P3 work. Do they enter the LMS in P3? I don't know whether they're running in that, because obviously this is AF Corsa, whatever we say about it, and perhaps it's a toe in the water for some more P3 work for them.
They haven't done the ELMS yet, but they have done the Michelin Le Mans Cup, which is Division 2 of LMP3 racing, if you like, at European level. But you also, if you enter that championship, the Michelin Le Mans Cup, you also get 2 races at Le Mans these days, 2 55-minute races, one on the Thursday of Le Mans week and one on Saturday morning. When it's a P3 and GT combined race, as indeed the Michelin Le Mans Cup is these days. It started off as just GT3, but then they added in a load of a good dollop of LMP3s now, and there's regularly about 15 cars in the sub-category. So there is the Spirit of Race car rejoining with Portuguese driver Rui Aguas
I've got Crichton
at the wheel. And Joe Bradley, as you can just hear, has got Crichton Lendudis to have a quick chat to. So here's Joe.
Crichton, you've just handed over the car. I would imagine you've had a better stint than you did yesterday. Yesterday was a torrid time for you in that car yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday was terrible. I was really, embarrassed for my teammates. Yeah, today was better. I was cautious after, the 2 spinnings yesterday. I think in the afternoon it would be much better.
It's a when a car goes offline, there's plumes of sand and dirt. It must be very tricky out there to stay on the line.
Yeah, it is. If you go offline, you had it. It's really hard.
Now, you're quite an experienced driver. How do you find the P3 car? I'm told it has good levels of ground effect.
Because actually it's the first time I drive the car, so I'm still trying to learn it. It's a very nice car, but it has peculiarities. So you have to be very gentle with the brakes. It has a different style of driving. I'm still trying to adapt.
Right. So it's all a learning experience.
Yeah, it is.
You'll be fine by this afternoon. You'll be fine by tonight, when you don't have to drive again.
I think so. And I'm doing the 24 hours next weekend with a GT3 car. So, I thought that would be a good warm-up for me.
And is it?
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
Great stuff. You get acclimatised. Thanks for speaking to us. I'm going to shake Crichton's hand, as we do. Thanks, Crichton.
It's become a bit of a thing there.
Joe, what year is it? Joe, what year is it? Don't listen to me.
Did I say 2017?
No. It's 2018, isn't it? When was ground effect banned?
What is ground effect? It's called ground effect.
It's called downforce.
Downforce.
Ground effect is completely different. No, it's not.
It is.
Ground effect is all about running it through the tunnels with these skirts.
Well, what do you think these things are? What do you think a diffuser is?
Because they've got skirts, haven't they?
Oh, well, you're being pedantic.
No, I'm not.
Off you go. Off you go. Discuss the difference of downforce.
Come here and touch me.
Goodbye.
I dread to tell you this, but I wasn't alive in 1979 when ground effect was banned. As we see, as you and I see, Nick, the Spirit of Race car go off the track. I think that was the Spirit of Race,
It was,
rather than the graph
it's
machine.
Ri Aguash in the greener flash. He was coming back on again when the camera team picked it up, but whether that was a mechanical or a driver error or who knows, we'll find out.
Tell me about ground effect. Tell me about skirts.
If I tell you about ground effect, all that's going to happen is that Joe is going to bite his lip because he's desperate, because Joe loves the 1970s Formula 1. Effectively, what they... he's there.
Hang on.
Yes, I am.
So basically what ground
effect... It was late 70s though, wasn't it?
Yeah, 78
Actually,
onwards. 77 onwards. 77.
Was discovered in the 60s.
Yeah, but 77, Chaparral, of course, used it first, but in F1 it became famous in the late 70s, initially by Lotus, and the idea was to gain downforce and to gain by having the car sucked into the ground by using the underbody. And they eventually got the point where they made the side pods two effectively inverted aircraft wings. So rather than providing lift, they were sucking the car down.
Yes.
And to make it even more effective, they actually put sliding side skirts onto the ground. So there's actually a seal with the ground, which sealed in the air, made the low pressure zone, because obviously it's low pressure under the car that sucks it down. They made the low pressure zone even greater, and they were getting thousands of pounds of downforce by using the air as an inverted wing and then stopping it getting out.
That is actually a vacuum. That's sucking the car to the ground rather than, as I understand, downforce, which is because Joe's trying to get in. So it's clearly fun. I could just put his fader down, but it's more entertaining hearing him trying to start this sentence about.
Can I explain how a diffuser works?
So what actually I'm talking about is downforce pushes the car down, and ground effect is
sucks it
suction.
down. Exactly right.
Now, what's Joe got to say?
He's now going to say a diffuser does the same thing.
A diffuser is the same thing.
So go on,
basically, for the layman. There's an amount
Sorry,
of
we've
air.
got to lose Joe there because we've got a massive change. No, that was too cruel.
I can
Joe. I
explain it, Johnny, so even you will understand, and I don't mean any disrespect by that.
No, look, hang on. Right, before you start, this is not disrespect because I'm always learning, and there are many people coming to our broadcast, perhaps for the first time. They don't have a clue what ground effect is, as I don't. So this is not patronising in any way. So lesson one for Joe.
So you can imagine there's an amount of air right underneath the car that enters the front of the car. So there's an inch depth of air that hits the car at the front and continues along underneath. And then as it hits the diffuser at the back, which is higher than the floor, if that makes sense, it sweeps upwards. And the angle of that upwards slope, all that air, so you've got an amount of molecules of air in that gap. And then all of a sudden, it's got that amount of space to fill. And by filling that amount of space, it causes negative pressure, a partial vacuum, which causes suction. And that's how the downforce is created with a diffuser, but it's the effect of the air underneath the car, which is ground effect. Diffusers are just in the development of ground effect.
Downforce, which is what the cars have, and you're not actually wrong, but it's
wrong at all.
But it is a very old-fashioned term, because ground effect was very much applied to the cars when they were actually gaining every single amount of, and the word's in there, they were getting all of their effective grip from the ground by being sucked down to the ground by the wings. Downforce, as it said, it's a down force because most of it now comes over the body and it's pushing down the car rather than sucking the car down. In any racing car, any race car, obviously, is allowed to have some.
By the way, if you are going to tweet us about this discussion topic or anything else, hashtag this is endurance.
And the big thing is,
hashtag this is endurance.
Diffuser effectively is negative pressure, so it sucks the car down. Downforce, or the pressure on wings, is positive pressure pushing down rather than sucking down. That's the difference. Now the key thing about
you're wrong.
And the key advantage about ground effect and underbody is it's free of drag, or much lower drag. So you're getting downforce without drag. Any sort of overbody wing will have an element of trade-off. So you'll have drag against downforce. So these very aerodynamic cars within Adrian Newey's cars, which get a huge amount of downforce, tended to be very draggy, which is why the Red Bulls weren't as fast in a straight line. But the net gain, drag to downforce, was positive. It's always a trade-off. Go, Joe.
It's also the air travelling under the wing that creates. On an airplane,
I'm now imagining, Joe, that the air, because of a rear diffuser, the air beneath the car actually travels faster than the air
It's
above the car.
it's a differential in pressure.
You're effectively sucking air under the car along the length of the car because it's trying to get to the area at the back of the car where there is more space. So the air's not expanding. What it's doing is being sucked underneath the car at great rate, and that
Not necessarily,
creates
Johnny.
suction.
As it hits the expanse of the diffuser, it then accelerates. And
It's only accelerating at that point.
That's when it causes the partial vacuum.
Right, so that's only giving you rear end grip then?
Yes. Now, if you expand that and have, like you see in a 962 Porsche or a Lotus 79, where the whole length of the car was effectively one big diffuser, that's where you're creating ground. That's what we call ground
elongate the suction
That's
area.
ground effect because basically you've got an entire side pod. James, we can pick this up after these pit stops.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 6 is in.
Oh, is there a race going on?
As is the number 22. Yeah, enough of this technical speak. The number 6 has already come to the end of the tyre stop. Yep, last tyre going on there. Now, who's getting in? It's Jordan Sanders getting in. Now, this is the guy that finished this car yesterday and took this car to the front of the field. He's got a bit of a job in hand today, though, because the sister number 4 car is currently the favourite to take the win at the end of this next hour or so. Already Jordan Sanders moving out, and it was Simon Murray who has just gotten from the car. Michael Simpson, I can see, getting his helmet on, so he's about to take over the number 4, I think. Now, he's down in the entry list as being in the number 6, but because of the reshuffle, because of the demise of the number 4 yesterday, we've had a bit of a driver reshuffle between the 4 and the 6. Now we've got Simpson putting his helmet on. That would suggest he's about to take over the number 4 when Simon Murray comes in. John Corbett has just handed over the number 6 to Jordan Sanders. So just make a note of that, guys. We've got a bit of a reshuffle in these cars.
Noted, duly noted. So Konstantin Gukev will get out of the car. He was the slowest of the 3, so Jack Boutel will run for an hour and 6 minutes, and we'll be trying to chase down initially Giacomo Pacini, and obviously hoping to retain 2nd overall, but he's going to have his work cut out because Jordan Sanders will be very, very quick in that Ginetta, using all the downforce that is available on that number 6 car to attempt to reel in the P3 machine. But if you want to know more about ground effect, and interestingly, I'm looking up ground effect in Wikipedia, and just about every picture they have is of cars from the late 70s, because that's when it was. Now we just talk about downforce. Pots of downforce.
Oh,
and then 4 cars gone off. So Simon Murray just come wide at turn 6, as so many have. It's a difficult different part of the track to get stopped and turned. And it looks like Joe's about to have a very entertaining time talking to the ebullient and very effusive Australian John Corbett.
Yeah, he's just gotten out of the number 6, and he's taking on what looks like his own urine. That looks like your own urine, John. I'm sure it isn't.
What's that?
That looks like your own urine sample.
No, mine's yellow. This is green. How you going, all right?
I don't know what you were drinking last night. What is that? That's obviously a replenished drink.
Yeah, just some electrolyte, just to keep rehydrated.
Yeah, because it's very hot out there.
Another race on today, so you don't want to spend yourself.
As a driver, do you treat, I mean, I know it's 3 races, but from the aspect of psyching yourself up and getting yourself focused, it's a whole day's racing, isn't it?
It is a whole day of racing, but your adrenaline kicks in, and you can go from being tired to very alert, so It's not a problem.
And did you enjoy that one there?
That was really good, yeah. Yeah, there was a bit of traffic out there. There was a bit of competition with the Graf car behind me. I could see him in my mirrors there for a little while. It was good fun. The car's behaving really well, and track's a good temperature. All that dust from the first hour is cleared now, so it's kind of script up.
You think you guys stand a chance of taking it to the number 4? They're very competitive.
You won't beat those blokes. They got 2 pros and a bronze. We've got 2 bronzes and a pro, so it's unlikely. But hey, good on them. We won yesterday. They can win today.
And then it's all out for this afternoon.
There you go. It'll be on again. So
great stuff. Thanks, John. I'll leave you with your electrolyte. And hang on, this is for Nick.
we caught just a very brief glimpse of a handshake, but it happened.
I love
That's another one ticked
too
off.
tactile, John. He didn't think so.
He loved it.
Jake, we're pleased to know that we have lit up Twitter with our discussion.
It's almost broken.
Chris Suku again. I'm going to say that Chris Suku, thank you for your kind words. I can't read them out because you forgot to use the hashtag This Is Endurance.
Yeah.
So Chris Suku from Pune over in India.
So effectively that tweet doesn't exist until it includes the hashtag
This Is Endurance. Absolutely.
Sorry, them's the rules.
Yep. But thank you to Time Certain Clock, Canberra Media, and everyone else who's joined in saying, oh, I may have learned something, or I may have been massively confused. Or a lot of people are saying, could Joe come round my house and touch me up?
I don't think anybody said that, frankly. But these two are available for maybe an evenings of discussion.
Yes.
You know,
we're very cheap. We work for beer. Certainly in this country we do.
Was it the 5-minute argument you arranged or the full half hour? Any length we can do, and we'll just keep going round and round. Anyway, indeed, that's what we're doing right now for 3 hours. But it's an entertaining race, I have to say, again, for the second day running. And there is the Simon Murray car that leads after almost 59 laps, and the gap back to Giacomo Piccini, who's on a bit of a charge for the Graf crew. Might even have an opportunity to take the race lead here. Oh, as Simon Murray decides to come into the pits, but that's not the conventional route into the pit lane. You have to stay between the white lines. The car's not appeared at the pit lane either. Here he is. That's a very elongated route that Simon's taken to actually find the pit lane. Very dusty Hankooks he will have beneath him. Slows the car down to 40 kilometres per hour, and that is indicated that the limiter is on because the headlights are flashing as well. And the car will work its way steadily down towards Joe again. We're nearing the 60 lap marker, and not expecting Giacomo Piccini to pit then at the end of lap 59, so it should be that the Italian in the French-run car, French-designed car, will take the lead, number 44. Here's Joe again.
Yeah, number 4's brought to a halt by the cage line himself, Simon Murray. He'll have gotten that out of his system. The South African driver jumps from the car. The driver assist mechanic dives in and readjusts the belts for Michael Simpson. Chatting to Michael about he's carrying a kind of a cushion with him. It's certainly not a designed piece of kit to aid his positioning in the car, but it's because the team have kind of lost focus because they had other things to focus on with repairing the number 4. So things like driver seat inserts and stuff have taken a bit of a back seat. So we've got the possibility of Michael Simpson being flopped around in the car. But he said it's not too much of a problem, and it doesn't stop him putting in some really quick laps. As we can see there, the green tab-outed mechanic there, he's the driver assist. New regulation, as we'll see, more of that as we go through the weekend. But that's Michael Simpson already out and towards the refueling area. We'll get a word with Simon Murray and see if he has indeed gotten it all out of his system.
In the sister car, the number 6 Jordan Sanders, he's just pinged in the best lap so far of this race for the car, 154.815. Still a long way off the best for the chassis. The lap set early on by Charlie Robinson, 151.5. I'm not sure you could actually do a 151.5 now in these prevailing track conditions, but I'm sure a mid 152 is still possible if you get it all right and you're running around. But the young boys, both Jack Boutel and Jordan Sanders, will be out to prove me wrong in the next hour or so by putting sparkling laps I wouldn't be able to believe the speed of.
I'm sure.
Guys,
as
we can get a word with Simon Murray.
Piccini heads out of turn number 9, and Simon Murray very close indeed to Bradders. Just trying to grab him, are you?
Is that better now?
Ah, here we go.
That's much better. My team manager, Jack Murray, gave me a little talking to before I came on into the car.
What did you tell him, Jack? Did you say, calm down, Dad?
Yes.
That was mega. It was amazing. The car was perfect. The guys repaired it 100%. Just got on the pace. The tyres were a bit cold in the beginning, so I was a bit slow the first couple of laps, but just kept it consistent and brought it home in P1.
A job done. I mean, it's quite a precious situation to be given a car in the lead, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of pressure. Had a few glances from my teammates, and one or two of the cars I got past didn't make it easy, but everything safe and clean and fast. Thanks to my manager, Jack Murray.
Is Jack doing any racing? Is he going to be karting soon or anything?
Oh yeah, he's definitely karting. He's been doing about half a year, and he keeps saying, when can you get in the big car?
So are you faster than Dad was when he was your age?
Yes.
I thought you were going to say that. That's the spirit.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you later.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Simon and Jack Murray, guys.
All right, excellent.
Did you not shake his hand?
I did tap his son on the shoulder, though.
Yeah, okay.
That does constitute tactile.
I like this. Chris Suzuki has now written, what is the hashtag, hashtag this is endurance.
There you go. You've answered
That
your
is
own
a
question,
hashtag.
Chris. You've got it spot on, and we can now read your tweet out.
Well, no, because it's quite nice about us. I mean, it said great discussion in downforce versus ground effect. Never thought about the difference, but this is brill, guys. There we are. You see, so I always say thanks for the lovely words. Otherwise, it sounds such massive self-aggrandizement. You think, oh gosh.
Yeah, no, true. But
you made me, you queued me up to say it.
It's give and take, isn't it? If he gives us the hashtag, then we'll read out
that's
the
true.
comments, which is also very nice to us too. Anyway, there's the 177 car. Mohammed Al Hassawi bringing it in and handing over to one of his Kuwaiti teammates. So that'll be one of the Al Nusifs, either Salam or Mohammed. It'd probably be Mohammed. I'm hearing in my ears. I thought Salam had already been at the wheel. Very complex handshake going on there between the two drivers.
Yeah.
So that wasn't a straightforward one.
I'm obviously out of sync with all this now. Apparently, it's the pit lane of handshakes.
Joe, can you get one of the boys to teach that to you?
I'm going to be all over that in a moment. I tell you what, dare I say it, guys, as we continue to watch the 177 Radical pit stop. Again, no tyres, would you believe? This CN1 class are only needing one set of tyres, and the Radical is on a more conventional-looking set of Hankooks than the Craft Racing Normas.
You know why, don't you, Joe? The Radical SR3, very little ground effect.
I thought you were going to go, you know, Joe, the Radical SR3, they sold thousands of them, so they need to have that tyre size.
Right, we're going to wait for Mohammed Al Hassawi to get his helmet off. He's just kind of soaking up the occasion. His helmet's coming off now. There's the hands device just being slipped off his shoulders. Off comes the balaclava. He's been working hard. These guys, they're virtually on home territory, being out of Kuwait. So the Kuwaiti drivers really enjoying being at the wheel for an hour. They've been familiar with the Radical in other series where they're driving the car for 20, 30 minutes. So they've been really keen on getting to grips with being in the car for an hour. I'm just going to just put in here. He's obviously, come and tell us. I've got to stand here because of my microphone. How was that? Great stuff?
Good, yeah, good. It was very good.
Now tell me, the handshake there to your coach, what was the handshake? You've just shook hands in a kind of special way. Was that like a fist bump kind of thing? What did you just do? Our camera's picked it up. He's not even aware of it, guys. I can't teach me. You shook hands with the guy who was got into the car. Was it Mohammed? Mohammed Al Nusif got in the car, yeah?
No, Salim.
Right. So it was Salim. Yeah. So when you shook hands with Salim, what did you do? He doesn't know. He can't remember. So I'm just going to shake hands with him then. There you go. Now, tell us about your stint.
Yeah.
I see that there's no tyres needed. Are those tyres still okay?
Yeah, it's okay. But it's been a while for me, maybe 4 years I didn't race. This is the first race from 4 years, so I have to bring the pace up a little bit, yeah.
So how's the neck?
Yeah, little bit sore now, yeah. But it's good. Good to come back to racing and stuff.
What did you race before 4 years ago?
Radicals. I used to, in the Radical Middle East Cup, and then just 4 years. And last year I was with Salim and Mohammed, but I was responsible of the car and the preparation of the car.
Well, the team and yourselves are from Kuwait. What's the racing scene like in Kuwait at the moment?
Actually, now it's kind of like it's finishing. There is a circuit now. It's supposed to finish in like 2 months or 3 months. From today, and
Does it look good?
Yeah, very nice.
So we need Creventic to go there, don't we?
Of course, of course, yeah.
Great stuff. Thanks again. Another handshake. And that'll please Nick.
By the way, it's quite funny because you know how you said, they're almost racing at home.
Yes.
It's 850 miles
That's
to
not bad,
Kuwait
is it?
from
Yeah.
UAE. It's like saying almost racing at home. If I was racing in Portugal. It's like it's miles.
Yeah, it's not, Nick. When you're racing in the States and you've got European guys, it's like you're almost, racing at home.
I'm just saying it's just
because we're European.
No, I am as guilty as you as thinking all the local Arabic states are right next door to each other. That is not the way it works. There's still a huge amount of miles to go. But
I'm just glad I raised points that you can make contentious. That's all.
That's right,
very good.
But interestingly, as you mentioned, they've got a new track opening in Kuwait, but there's also a couple of new tracks opening in Saudi Arabia in the next couple of years.
Right.
We're talking to Said Al Faisal, I think, about that in one of the Kota. And he said yes, they've got a couple of tracks about to open in Saudi Arabia. They've got there's another track, I can't remember which country it's in. It's being expanded from 1.5 miles to 2.5. So there's going to be 4 or 5 more circuits of a very high quality in the region very soon. So that not necessarily grade ones, but circuits where you can start running club racing, start running series and meetings. So the growth of motorsport is ever more within the Middle East. Obviously they run the contra season because of temperature reasons. They try and run as much as possible in what we would call the winter months. So they also do run night races during the summer. Old Phil Anderson, who said he used to race radicals in the evenings here when it was 50 degrees during the day, and they'd start at 9 and run for about 4 hours, but it was only 38 apparently degrees centigrade.
It's another Tilke design, by the way, the Kuwait Motor Town race circuit, and is set to be an FIA Grade 1 track as well.
They love a Grade 1, don't they?
They do. It'll feature no less than 7 racing configurations, apparently. So looking forward to that. A couple of months off, reckons Mohammed Al-Hassawi. And that'll be a fantastic place
and
for them to take
one of the Saudi ones is going to be Grade 1 as well. So we're up to about 6 Grade 1s in the region. Just kind of park F1 out here for a few months now, yeah.
Hey, why not?
But of course, the problem is that Bahrain have an absolute veto on any more tracks turning up. I don't know how long that is. And I would think that's obviously a Bernie veto, so that'll disappear over the next couple of years. But they had to agree to let Abu Dhabi on a few years ago, and they have constantly blocked Losail in Qatar from joining. And of course, at the moment, that wouldn't happen anyway, because of course there is a strange political situation between Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar at the moment, which is causing some problems. But I'm sure it'll be sorted out in the near future.
Hopefully.
A little bit of politics there.
At the end of Sector 2 and into Sector 3 goes the race leader, who is now Giacomo Piccini. How far away are Graf from making their third and final pit stop then? We are inside the final hour now of our second 3-hour race. It's a 3x3 to kick off our first motorsport of 2018. Feels like only about 5 minutes ago I was celebrating New Year. What's the date today? 7th. Yeah, it was a week ago.
It wasn't that long ago.
It was a little more than 5 minutes, but it's only 7 days ago. And straight away we're into effectively an 8-day span of motorsport. We're not racing on all of those 8 days, but the 5th, 6th and 7th, the first clump of dates for our Proto Series. And then now when does the build-up for the 24 hours start? Is that Wednesday or Thursday?
We are doing Motorsport on Wednesday on RSL,
the Radio Show Limited
but the
network.
actual coverage begins on Thursday with free practice, qualifying and night practice.
Okay, we've got one of the 2 Normas, the M20 FCs from Craft Racing, in the pit lane, and Giacomo Piccini, the race leader, also in as well. Here's Joe Bradley to report.
Yeah, guys, the number 44 car looks like it's just gone straight past its pit and into fueling. So they're not changing driver or tyres, it looks like, and maybe just need more fuel to finish the race. We did speculate as to whether that could do an hour and 15 minutes, with just coming up to 50 minutes remaining. Now then, the 97 car, the Craft Racing Norma, is in the pit at our feet, and it's Max Bortolami who's taken over the car. Now, Max was at the wheel of the car at this point in yesterday's race, and it was tragic to see that car roll to a halt with a problem, an engine failure on that car right at the very end of yesterday's race. All the team are watching as the car leaves. He doesn't need fuel. He hasn't taken on tyres, so that car is on the same tyres it started the race with, and it hasn't needed to take on any further amount of fuel. With 50 minutes left, Regis Treff has handed that car to Max Bortolami.
Any sign, Joe, of the team handing Max a rabbit's foot?
They've got a few prayer mats out, I can tell you. They're going to need them, I think. Because last year the car failed at the very end, and Max Bortolami was at the car. And I'm sure it was being lost in translation with the French guys in this team when I was trying to say, you can't put Max in the car again, he's a bit of a hex. I don't think they understood the British sense of humour.
Joe.
Yes.
We have a tweet helping you out here, and it's not from me. It's from Chris Matthews using the hashtag This Is Endurance, and he says the handshake for the AUH Motorsport team was not some sort of like, you know, ghetto product. It was him just getting the arm restraint off because they've only got one.
Is that what you saw?
That's what Chris Matthews saw. Yeah,
well,
it was just
I saw that as well.
swap.
I saw that as well, and I didn't see the handshake. So you probably saw that and saw it was some kind of.
Young Chris.
Yeah. It's good that we completely confused.
It genuinely looked like some kind of rock and roll handshake, which was a conventional one. Then he went up for the thumbs, then he went backwards again. It was really complicated, and I thought because handshakes
and so fit the theme.
Exactly right, but no wonder Mohammed Al-Sawi was kind of like, what are you talking about?
I was just giving him my the arm restraint.
Sorry, Joe, not for the first time. I don't really know where we're going with this. That's what he was saying.
Yes.
Anyway.
Talking about the car that came in the lead, Giacomo Puccini.
Yes.
They are effectively doing the reverse of what they did yesterday. Because yesterday they gave Puccini an hour, then they gave Branceschi the remaining 2 hours with a fuel stop and no change of tyres. And this time round, Branceschi started the car and Puccini is going to run it to the end. So they are going to have old tyres again towards the end, which they said had completely gone when they were hunted down by Jordan Sanders. But they have done a quick stop only for fuel. They have a top driver in, so they probably are hoping they can stay in second.
Well, Jordan's got, 13 seconds to try and find, first of all, on Jack Butel. But I would imagine Jack's probably going to be putting in similar times to the Ginetta G57. Jordan is a smidge faster last time around, but only...
no, last time around, it's nearly 2 seconds faster.
No, you're right, it was nearly 2 seconds faster. So
I've not been watching Jack's times recently. I'm not seeing where he's got to. Because obviously the track is not as fast as it was earlier. And so we're not going to see a 151, and you know, there's a struggle to get down to 153, 54. So, I mean, Sanders has done 153 at some point, but it's still only 2 seconds off the ultimate pace of the car on a lovely day. In the morning, the track's cold, so we'll wait for Jack to come round the next time. Saying that, Simon Murray has just put the fastest Sector 3 in for that car. Actually, that's not just Simon Murray. Once again, they've not clicked. That's Michael Simpson. They've not clicked the transponder. Mike Simpson is going, no, it doesn't matter how hot it is. I am the man whose name above the door, and I am the Ginetta development driver, so I can still go as fast as this car can go. And he's putting the fastest Sector 3 that car's seen with a 30.5. Though the lap itself was a massive 0.2 off the fastest lap that Charlie Robinson did. So, confounding my theories that the track's got slower, you just put an even faster driver in, it solves the problem.
I'm not sure that Mike Simpson is the Simpson of Simpson Motorsport, by the way. There is another Simpson. I'm not sure whether they're the same family or not.
I've just kind of... they are now.
What?
They are now.
They are now. They can be now, yeah. But Mike mentioned another chappie.
He did talk to them very much in a kind of like a third-person sort of like American boxer sort of way.
Yeah, but they could well be brothers. Who knows?
Or father and son.
Yes, it's a chance. I do know someone
You
who
have a
can
computer.
Yeah. Can you remember the first name that Mike mentioned?
No. Simpson Motorsport.
I need to get onto Ruth from Ginetta, who I'm sure is busy somewhere.
It's 7:15.
Garforth. Oh, maybe not on a Sunday morning. I'll fling her an email later on today, or indeed just catch Mike at lunch and we can have a conversation. But Simpson Motorsports have been a name long associated with Ginetta Racing. They are a pseudo-works team, effectively. And they know exactly how a Ginetta G57 goes together. In fact, they can even rebolt it together and re-carbon fibre it if necessary.
Rebond it together.
But I do know when you're bonding things, you just need a load of time, don't you, for them to actually set and stick.
Time, pressure, special lights sometimes.
Okay. Well,
yes.
they've managed it against all odds.
And you need to make sure you don't smell too many of the fumes either, because that's not a good idea.
4-car is doing pretty well so far, and we'll need to catch up with Mike Simpson at the end of this race to find out what he thinks of the car now after all that handiwork overnight. Is it feeling any ill effects? It certainly doesn't display that from its lap times. Down in the mid 151s now, and the car's best lap of the race came earlier on with a 155.5. I'd expect Mike to be able to go even faster than that, but maybe not in the 51.5, but maybe not in the current conditions.
Well, he's got within 2:10s, which is kind of basically just trying to prove me wrong, which is fine. Pacini has carried on doing laps around. Well, he did about a lap last time. He carried about the 156s. So he has actually come back out again in second, and he has a lead of 19 seconds on Jack Boutel. So that is the battle, and it is honours even. They're both running to the end now with 44 minutes to go. So will Boutel be able to get past Pacini for second? Then you have Jordan Sanders in the Ginetta, who's a further 11 seconds back on Boutel, gaining at about an average of a second a lap. It's only 0.6. Last time it was 1 point. So we're going to see a battle for third overall quite quickly. Not sure that Sanders will find it as easy to flash by Boutel as he did the gentleman driver he got past yesterday. So it's sorry, it was Michael Franceschi, wasn't it? So lots going on here. The top four, I think first place is pretty much nailed on unless they make a mistake, but the second, third and fourth is absolutely honours even and completely open. And I think you'd be a very brave man even to predict with a chance to cash out on Betfair early what that order's going to be. So Pacini currently second with the Leisure GSP3 from the 44 car. The 22 car Jack Boutel is in third, and the fastest car in theory, which is the P2 car in a separate class of Jordan Sanders, since Motorsport G57, is in fourth, but he has 29 seconds to make up on Pacini, and he has just over 11 seconds to make up on Boutel, and he has 43 minutes to do it, which, as it's about 2 minutes a lap, doesn't take too much to go. It's going to be 22 laps to the end, which means we'll end up doing 89 laps, which is about 7 more, or 90 laps, which is 7 more than last, or 7, 8 more than yesterday when we had some Code 60. So far, this race has run green and clean the whole way through, and apart from a little bit of a coming together with a 100-metre board by the 97 Craft Racing car, it's been completely instant-free as far as that's concerned, though we did, of course, have a jump start penalty for the 22 car when the young Dutchman decided to put, Keith van Berle decided to put his karting start procedure skills into action, not realising they're horrendously frowned upon in the real racing world, and also not helped, we're really honest, by a very, very slow rolling start over the line by Neil Wilson. It's his right, he can do that, but when you're a young man not used to it, it doesn't help to get tripped up by a car going particularly slowly. And whilst, as Kay said, he did try and put his foot in the brake and did try and get back, he had still gained a place before they crossed the line.
I think Simpson Motorsport are the same Simpson Motorsport, based in Lydney in Gloucestershire, and have run British GT cars in the past. They certainly do run Ginetta G57s on occasion as well. So it's not the same Simpson as Mike, who is from...
It's one of those coincidences.
Yeah, it is. But it appears he's got his name above the door. Certainly he's got a lot of past work in developing this prototype, but not actually the same family as those that run it. Nevertheless, they are running first and fourth at the moment, with Mike Simpson and Jordan Sanders doing the driving in the 4 and the 6 respectively. Down towards turn number 1 goes the race leader for the 69th time, Giacomo Pacini, running in second position in the Graf Ligier, and now only has a 16.3 second lead in Class P3. So Jack Boutel is starting to hunt down the Italian now in car 44. There is the 48 car driven by Ruby Agwash.
Pacini has been slow since he's come out from that stop. He was very happily
it's a big heavy car now,
he was very happily in the high 55s, and now he's gone up to 57.7. This one he's just finished at 57.5, and also of course he's running on tyres that are an hour old as well. Ruby Agwash has just gone off the track again. This time he has overshot at turn 14. So that car, that was his last lap. He's now coming in the pit. So Joe will be seeing the Spirit of Race car with Ruby Agwash coming down towards him in a few seconds, where I expect he will be handing over to Marco Ciocci, who did put the fastest time for this car in yesterday's race. But the car itself, as a combination of 4 drivers doing the extra stop, is never going to be in contention for an overall win. So you think they're out there having a bit of fun, or a classman even, and also learning a lot more about running these cars for more than the hour they run them in the Michelin Challenge. So it's good work, it's good fun, and it was nice to be in Dubai rather than even in Italy. It's nice to be in Dubai, I think, this time of year. Some parts of it are very cold, of course, because they even have Winter Olympics there. They were in Turin in 2004, weren't they?
I'll bow to your superior Winter Olympic knowledge there.
I'm pretty sure it might be 2006. I think it's this year, isn't it? So yeah, it was 2006. So we're in 2006 Winter Olympics in the Turin area.
Car 48 then in for a stop. Joe will be overseeing things there. Everything going to plan?
I think Joe is overseeing something else.
Is he wandered off?
No, there he is. There are more
hands to be shaken.
I can see him.
I was chatting.
Who are you chatting to?
I was chatting about Ginettas at Le Mans.
What? Oh, what have you found out? Anything broadcastable?
I can't say, mate. No, of course not.
How's the development of the P1 car going? Do you know that?
I know Mannor's going to be running it.
Oh.
Yeah, be announced.
We already knew that, though.
Did you find out if Mike Simpson's related to Simpson Motorsport?
We've got. I was listening, guys. We've got
a brake problem.
We've got a well, it's the discs floating on the hub. The locating pegs not really doing what it should do. So what that means is when there's no rear brakes on the left-hand side, the brake disc will spin on the hub. There should be a locating peg that locks the brake disc to the hub. So the hub spins, the brake disc attaches to the hub. So when that brake caliper pinches the disc will stay still, but the hub will continue to spin. So there will be no braking effect whatsoever.
So basically, effectively, they've got 3 brakes in that car, which will make it incredibly unstable.
Yes, very, very tricky for the 48 car.
Which would explain why before Riaguas threw himself into the pits, we saw he was off the track, and we also see him off the track a few minutes earlier as well. So he was.
He'll have just lost complete brakes. He'll have fell from where he's standing. You can see that brake disc wobbling. Now you see that it's not quite. It's not a tight fit on the hub. It is. It does,
nasty score, isn't it? So
yeah, that's because it's just been scrubbing round.
So all 3 pins have failed.
I think it's game over. Unless they're going to have to change the hub, aren't they?
That's a
which
weird
is
failure,
part
that is.
of the upright. I'm just trying to. They're obviously speaking Italian, so I'm. What is wrong with the brakes? They do not work. So you can hear the conversation. They're asking for tools to be brought out. Now, luckily, we haven't got a massively busy pit lane, so we're probably going to be able to try and do something. I think they're going to try. There. They're going to try and insert a peg, a locating peg. If they put that in the wheel and jam that at the right place, now usually the wheel just goes on at any position, but if they put that in the wheel first and then jam it on, drill it up, that'll drive the peg home, or they put the peg on first. I think that's what they're going to do.
Have the pegs sheared or fallen out, Joe?
It looks like they may have fallen out because there's a hole there. He's just tapping the peg in now, the locating peg. That's what you can hear in the background. Don't burr the end. They're going to put another one in. Don't burr the end. There's a choice of 4 holes for it. Now, because the peg's gone completely, I would say that it's fallen out rather than sheared.
That's a very weird failure, isn't it?
Where's it gone? Because it's got nowhere to go. It's obviously fallen out the other way.
Well, that might be why the hub is scored, because that's got trapped in there.
Yeah, well, there's no really where for it to go, is there? There's not really a gap. They've got 2 on there. That should do the job.
I'm enjoying the use of hammer bar in the pit lane. You know I love
lovely,
a hammer.
Lovely little 2-pounder. Nothing too heavy. We don't want to burr the end of the peg so that we don't get we burr the end and they won't slip on. It's kind of
I'm quite surprised. I'm a little bit surprised, given that they are not doing particularly well and there's only half an hour to go. You would have thought they would have thought, no, let's just do this properly for the final race.
I think there might be. He's pulling it out now. It's not going in far enough, you see. It's he's still trying to get it home. It might be, Nick, that they have sheared, and that's why it won't go all the way home, because the remaining part of that peg is in there. So they're going to have to drill it and pull it. Hang on, we're trying another one of the holes.
We've
got a choice of 4.
Looking at this, there is a request for the Car 6 team manager to report to the race director. So it may be that Jordan Sanders' car is about to receive a penalty of some sort.
I think you pulled the right call here. If you were the team manager down here, Nick, I think you would have pulled the car. They're putting the wheel on now to see if it'll go on. And now
they're hanging out as much as possible, then seeing if the wheel will fit. Yeah.
Yes. So now we're drilling the wheel on. We're going to see once the wheel goes on, it might pull it in.
Massive confidence. It wouldn't come out again if it's any kind of a compression fit for a rear brake.
The wheel's going on. Nah, they're not happy with that, are they? Now that's the problem. Yeah. Now they're going to see if the peg's gone home.
That's clever. They were using the wheel to drill the head.
But it wasn't going on far enough.
It's light alloy, isn't it? So you're just going to damage the wheel.
Absolutely. All you're going to do is damage the wheel. So the pegs aren't going in all the way. They're going to have to change the hub. I think it's game over.
That's a really strange fall. It's almost like, Joe, they actually screwed in the pegs and didn't put any Loctite on there, and they vibrated out.
Yeah, and somehow sheared, because that's why.
Because normally they'd be thread locked in, like, you know, locked in, you'd think, and there would be no chance of that happening.
It's sort of on a thread, yeah, and screwed in. At the moment, they're just bringing them in, so whether they're just an interference fit, I think they're an interference fit, to be honest, I don't know. It's a Ligier setup here, of course, at the 48. It's the Spirit of Race car, what we're talking about. And we're still trying to find a solution to get this car back out for what will be just coming up to the final 30 minutes of the 3-hour race. They are still trying the same tactic, really, of bring another peg in there. I'm not really sure why they haven't sussed that. They can't really do that. They're still trying, though. Now then, the wheel's going on, but I'm not really sure whether they are retiring this car, because if that brake disc will turn. That's the wheel on. The wheel is staying on. I might have missed something here, but I didn't see them putting a peg in there. Trying to fire the car. It's stuck in gear.
Oh,
he's pushing the start button.
That's very common for the 48.
Yeah. We had this problem yesterday. Now he's gotten it out of gear. And the car peters away from its pit apron and it's gone back out. No, it's gone into the refueling area.
Right.
So I'm not really sure whether they got a peg on there. If that car continues, it may have just gone into the refueling area to come back into the pits. Yes. We'll hang about, but I'm not sure that job was complete there.
It didn't look like it had a satisfying ending at all, did it? I mean, they were scratching their heads, they were hammering away, doing various different things, but I didn't see a peg go in, certainly.
Odd failure and an interesting solution. So I think they were trying to get a pin in, but I don't know. They can't have just sent it out again on a compression fit with the rear brake, because they have no rear braking on that rear left side.
I don't think it's going to rejoin the race. I think Joe's shout about it just going to be fueled and then they're going to prep it for the final race of the day by changing the hub effectively, but why not fuel it now?
One job less.
True enough. There's Mike Simpson in the number 4 car, in no danger at this stage of giving the lead away to anybody else. Mike well and truly now in a groove. He's had a strange weekend, came here knowing he was part of a driving lineup. Then when Simpson Motorsport thought they were going just one Ginetta G57, he very diplomatically stepped away from the driving duties, still has a bit of a coaching role, I think, and gave somebody else an opportunity to drive. Jordan Sanders indeed moved across into the 6, but now the 4's back in the race. He's back to driving duty again and finishing off this 3-hour race. We have got how long to go? 29 minutes and 50 seconds. So the 44 is going to rejoin. 48 is going to rejoin.
Perhaps
rather.
He's going to do a lap.
So really, yeah, maybe just a tentative launch around this 3.3 mile circuit to see how the car feels.
You've
Don't be surprised to see that
no way from
back in again. Joe?
Sorry, Johnny, I think he's got to do that because from the fueling area, you can't re-access the pit lane without going back out onto the track. Okay. So we'll just keep an eye on that. I either missed something there, or they are going to bring that car in.
He's going at speed. He's not hanging about. He's not tootling. We're about to get a battle on the track, and that battle will be
for a little while now.
3rd overall. Jordan Sanders now has closed down to within 3 seconds of Jack Boutel, and Jack Boutel is within 5 seconds of Giacomo Puccini. That's easing up for our customary now in these 3x3 hours grandstand finish. Half an hour to go. The rate of gain which we saw yesterday from Jordan Sanders against Branteschi, Michael Branteschi, will not be the same because the 3 drivers are much more evenly matched. So Puccini's still having real difficulty getting any speed out of that car in that second round. Looks like that car, these Ligers do need a set of tyres every hour, and that double stinting is not an effective methodology because you've got Puccini AD 158, you know there's a problem. So he's going to be gobbled up, I think, actually by Boutel before Boutel is gobbled up by Jordan Sanders.
What do you think?
Well, because he's gaining at 3 seconds a lap, and he's only 5 behind.
Yeah, but Butel is only 2.3 seconds or 2.2 seconds behind indeed.
So the battle there, it's now between the 22. It's basically, you want to have the 22 on camera because he's either going to go forward to second or drop back to fourth.
Just exiting turn 12 now is Jack Butel, and heading into the final sector of the lap. To the kink at 13 comes Giacomo Piccini, Jack Butel in his wheel tracks. Jordan Sanders virtually can certainly see the rear wing of Jack Butel. Lean out the car, he might be able to touch it, in fact. And around turn 14 goes the three-way fight for second, third and fourth.
Down the main straight comes Butel, and behind him, he comes hit the line now, and then behind him you can see the very menacing carbon fibre black of Jordan Sanders. He's already beginning the old flashing action. He's flashing his lights already in his desire to become an Audi works driver. They're leading then second place, leading the 3 cars round. They go around turn 1 and 2. It's Giacomo Piccini in the what appears to be hobbled Graf car, just hobbled by the fact its tyres are now a bit too old to be giving their best. And so Piccini now, I think, is a sitting duck when he gets Butel behind him. Though his last lap round, again, another 58, so he's just not got the pace in the car. You see Butel right behind him, and then right behind Butel is the 4 car of the 6 car of Sanders. So second, third and fourth all change in the next few minutes, Johnny.
Yeah, and the question is, what comes first? The change of lead in P3, or will Jordan Sanders separate Butel and Piccini, and Giacomo Piccini, who will be concentrated on those rear view mirrors, but also looking to see if there's any traffic ahead on the long straight, the long run down towards turn number 10. Straight line speed on the 44 looks pretty good, but it's through the corners where the Speedworks Motorsport machine is able to gain time. Jack Butel a little frustrated at the end of yesterday's race, knowing that the car carried good pace. Butel did a full season in the UK-based prototype championship, racing a P3 in that category, and he finished his year at Donington Park in a meeting that was affected by lashing down rain. Very, very different conditions. Then you end your season in the East Midlands of the UK at Donington Park, and then come to the Dubai Autodrome to kick off 2018. Tail, though, skipping out massively there from Jack Butel. He was eager to get the power down as quickly as possible to try and reel in the Graf Racing car, but actually maybe lost a bit of time there, did 21-year-old Jerseyman Jack Butel. This time, though, Jack feels he is carrying enough speed. Down the main straight he goes. Jordan Sanders weaving from left to right in the background. They're over on the dirty side of the track, though. Look at the sand and the dirt that's kicked up behind the two Ligiers. Side-by-side action here in the final half an hour of the second race. Butel's off on the dirty stuff. He runs out wide on the exit of turn 1 and is actually going to compromise his speed into 3 and 4. That might provide Jordan Sanders with the opportunity he needs then to get ahead of Jack Butel and into third place overall. The places don't change as it turns out, but it's given Giacomo Piccini a bit more breathing space. You have to say, though, he is a little bit of a dead man walking here in second position, with now 2 cars ganging up on him. An update very quickly from Joe Bradley from the pit lane.
It's just further on the 40, it's braking issues.
Oh, yeah.
Rui Aguas is having to nurse the car to the finish. They're thinking long term, they're thinking about championship points, and we were right, the brake's not going to be working on the rear of the car. So the team didn't confirm this, but all I was told was he's going to nurse the car to the finish. So if he winds all the brake balance to the front and has minimal brakes on the rear, he can drive tentatively around for the final 30 minutes.
Tremendous fight for second, third and fourth overall. Jordan Sanders might be in an entirely different class from those cars up ahead of him, but it's not very easy for the G57 to draw alongside and then outbrake one of these little baby prototypes, the LMP3. Jordan Sanders, I thought, had got Jack Butel on the run down to 10, but as they hit the brakes, Butel was able to carry a bit more speed with the lighter LMP3. Now, what's the exit out of 14 like for each of these cars? Jack Butel got the tail end out a lap ago. A little more stable this time, though, 14 to 15. And is this the opportunity now for the Jerseyman to slip up the inside of Piccini's car? No, because Giacomo sits the Graf car right in the middle of the track. And now we know that Jack Butel's straight line speed is very impressive. We've got a double toe though for Jordan Sanders. How many cars can the G57 overtake on the main straight? He's going to try for one, he's going to try for two, is he? Maybe try and outbrake Giacomo Puccini into the first corner. No, and Butel goes deep into one as well. And it's still as you were, Nick Damon.
Cracking racing. As Jordan is thinking, I've got the power, I've got the more hand, I can get blast past, but Butel's like, absolutely no way. Helped, obviously, his straight line speed disadvantage being helped by the fact he's getting a slip to Puccini, and Puccini goes wide at 6, up, slips Butel into the lead of the P3 class, and now he's got a buffer between him and Sanders, and that buffer, which actually prevented Sanders getting past by slipstream down the straight, but they're now going to carry on through the section to 7, 8, and 9, and then of course we get on the back straight again, where I'm pretty certain that Jordan want to blast past Puccini.
Yeah, well, here comes the 57 then in the wheel tracks of the red, white and blue Graf Ligier. This should be very easy indeed to dispatch with Giacomo Puccini. So not a change in the class positions, but nevertheless, that will be third overall for Jordan Sanders. But again, the LMP3 can brake far later than the heavier G57. It's got a big power advantage, remember, but through the twisty stuff, the LMP3 can more than live with the Ginetta. Finally, though, Jordan Sanders slots into third position. Giacomo Puccini then losing 2 places in the space of about 4 corners, and the Italian is now, I think, going to have to soak up a bit of humble pie here and watch those 2 cars ahead of him disappear up the road. So down into turn 14 goes the 22 car of Jack Butel. Car 6, Jordan Sanders Ginetta G57, and the Ginetta should be a little more swift on the main straight than Jack Butel, who's now heading for turn 16. Mike Simpson, oblivious to all this battling behind him, he's well gone up the road, and onto lap 78 goes the Yorkshireman. Lights flashing though again from Jordan Sanders, trying to distract Jack Butel. It'll take a bit more than that though to send the 21-year-old off his stride, carrying good speed into turn number 1, and the Ginetta didn't really gain that much heading into the braking area, and now through the kink at 2. Slower traffic up ahead though, that's Salem Al Nusif in the AUH Motorsport Run Radical, and Al Nusif sensibly staying off the racing line. Can both get by safely? Oh, the Ginetta's going to have to wait a little bit wide. They managed to steer away from each other, but the Radical was sitting right on the apex of turn 7. Through no fault at all of Salem Al Nusif, he had to be somewhere, but it meant that the Ginetta's run through 7 was not as conventional as Jordan Sanders would have hoped for. So out of 9 they go, and again the lights are being flashed by Jordan Sanders. 20 minutes and 40 seconds to go. Ginetta G57 is gaining ground, but the straight's not just quite long enough to reel in Jack Butel on this lap. Through the right-hander, through the left-hander now at turn 12, so 11 rather, now down to 12, which is a slightly more open hairpin, but uphill throughout the whole right-hander. And then they crest a slight rise. More traffic up ahead. Is that Max Bortolami or the other craft racing car of Mark Vive?
It's
rather.
Vives.
Vive.
Mr. Vive.
And into 14 goes Jack Butel. He's going to have a decision to make here, where to lap Mark Vive, because Vive will try and stay off the racing line and allow both cars through at once. But this might be Jack Butel's real opportunity on pulling a bit more of a gap on the Ginetta G57. If Jack can slip through and then the Ginetta gets balked, that will buy him a bit more real estate.
This is the right thing for him to do, because he's effectively tried to negate some of the G57 advantage by taking the slipstream from the 98, so he'll get a bit of extra. But no, up the inside and the position 2. This time, he's saying no. Butel swipes across the nose there of Sanders, but he did the thing again. He got a slipstream from the other car, this time the 98, to negate as much of that straight line speed advantage that Sanders in the P2 car has. And again, now he'll be safe for the rest of the lap, because he can pull enough lead so there's no danger on the run up to 10. He is effectively under threat every time down the main straight, and it'd be interesting to see when he hit the main straight next time with no traffic to pull him along, whether he'll be able to again wipe the nose off Jordan Sanders and retain second place overall. He is comfortably leading the class though.
But this is classic interclass racing whereby one car has the advantage on the straight, the other has the advantage into the braking area and into the bends. And what it means is that the Ligier is caught on the long stretches of track, but then into the braking area, Jack Butel comes into his own. And Joe Bradley talks to me off air by saying a reminder that it is incredibly dirty offline, and as soon as you get there, off the racing line to attempt an overtake, hit the brakes, no grip at all.
And what you saw from Jordan Sanders there was that as he came off to try and get up the inside there at 10, you saw the dirt coming out of the back of the diffuser. We won't argue how it's caused, but the dirt came out of the back of the diffuser, it sprayed up, and you could see that he is offline. There's a huge amount of sand and dirt, and he just effectively then was braking on microscopic marbles, as Joe described yesterday.
He did. Or Sanders, you and I know it. And the 22 car just a little bit wider initially through 14, but I think Jack's treating that as two corners. We discussed that during our taxi rides, whether you hug the apex throughout 14 or clip the curb initially, then run out a little wide, then come back for a second apeces effectively, and a second apex rather, two apeces, and that seems to work for Jack. What's the straight line speed this time down the main straight? Pretty good. The Ginetta's going to have to be fully committed this time around, braking as late as he dares, Jordan Sanders, and that was more about out-positioning the Ligier as well as getting good speed. He prevented Jack Butel from turning in at 1, and finally the overtake is achieved. So Jordan Sanders, several attempts at that overtake, slightly different style on lap 81, and he gets the job done. That means that we now have a Ginetta G57 in first and in second positions. You might argue that the P2s were always going to finish 1-2, but it's been a fantastic journey to get them there. That's why you see you should experience a race throughout its duration rather than just check the results at the end, because it belies what a cracking race we've had up until this point. 16 minutes and 50 seconds still to go though, and I fancy now the Ginettas are going to start to edge away and make this a convincing 1-2 finish.
And as you say, as you say, I mean, it's one of these. Multi-class racing is a thing of beauty when you get these ebbs and flows between the drivers. This has been particularly helped by the fact that there isn't a massive difference between P2 and P3 here, because it's not proper P2. It's a subclass, really.
Indeed.
It's more P3 plus. I think even Ginetta would describe them that as well. But you've had these fantastic mix and match of drivers as well, from virtually some young guns, some pros, and the double pro team of Mike Simpson and Charlie Robertson has had that edge based on the fact they've got a very fast car and two very fast drivers. But it's taken this 6 car this long to get in second place because they started with 2 proper gentleman drivers, which is what this multi-class racing is all about. And then you put the hot shoe in and he pulls the car through the cars which are theoretically slower but with young gun drivers. So it's everyone knows there are huge parts of every car. It's about the preparation of the team, it's about the chassis you start with, and it's obviously the most important thing, what everyone tells you, is always a nut behind the wheel.
Yeah, and the 4 car for this race, the middle race of our weekend, is a Pro-Am lineup. The number 6 is a Pro-Am lineup, but they're going to finish up on the same lap, although separated by over a minute, and that's mainly due to the fantastic speed of Charlie Robertson and of Mike Simpson, who, let's face it, have effectively developed this Ginetta G57, so they have a slight advantage over everybody else.
Andrew Cooksley is enjoying this, and he's used the correct hashtag, this is endurance. So can we just keep this race going until the start of the third one?
We could, but that would mean us missing out on lunch.
And
also, I know that none of us are a big fan of that.
As part of our, we promised to read out people who said this is endurance. Joe Hart, advocate in ADA, not so keen about something. Can I just ask him very nicely, can you look up in your dictionary the meaning of the word banter? And you might understand. And also, can you use less capitals in your tweets? Thanks very much.
Okay.
That's Joe Hart, advocate and ADA.
I'll enjoy reading that later on.
Quite shouty.
It's on
quite a shouty tweet.
Than mine. Down into turn 10 goes the number 4 car,
yes.
Mike Simpson, Ginetta G57. And that car has now completed 81.5 laps. The Jordan Sanders car now in second position. Now, are we going to get an indication of the difference between those 2 cars? The 4's just working its way into turn 13, and the 6 car, yes, is just about on the lead lap, coming round now, turn 16 to complete lap 81. So, what is the difference between Mike Simpson and Jordan Sanders? I don't think the time's going to come down at all, no, because Mike's in the 153s and Jordan in the 155s. But the difference is 1 minute and 42 seconds. So very nearly a full lap, bearing in mind you can get round here in 153, 154 as a kind of comfortable fast lap. There's Mike Simpson, and he's got about another 7 laps to do, with 14 minutes remaining on the clock.
What is interesting is how the Pacini Graf car has gone off a cliff now, 2:01. So they really, in today's conditions, just got nowhere near getting 2 hours out of a set of tyres on that car. That is second stint has been, they've learnt from this. They've learnt they need to change tyres more often. Last time when they ran with 2 hours with Michael Bruncheschi, they just began to lose the fronts towards the end, but Pacini now is going slower, and he's the pro driver, than Bruncheschi was at the back end of yesterday, because he's got no front end on the car, I expect, so they'll have to revise their tactics for the third race. The only 2-driver team now lineup. We've got a 4-driver team lineup, which is the 48 Spirit of Race, though only 3 of the drivers have taken part in this one. We haven't seen Marco Ciocci in the race today, but we will see him this afternoon. All the rest of the drivers are 3 drivers, apart from that 44 Graf car, which is just Giacomo Pacini and Michael Bruncheschi, and they've run the concept of 1 hour for one and 2 hours for the other driver. They've flipped it round over the two, and I think possibly they might find that the best and fastest strategy is to stop twice and to change drivers twice. So perhaps they'll, or even they want to give Bruncheschi 2 hours, he'll still be quicker if he runs with a nice new set of boots in that final hour, because the Pacini car, the 44, is falling off the back of the P3 at a rate of knots. Luckily, he's in no danger of losing second overall, because the third P3 of Riad, of course, the Spirit of Race car, which we have seen has a massive brake issue, though he still did a 156 last time round, so things obviously back on and connected properly again. But Aguash has lost several laps in the pits, and also they had some slower gentleman drivers. So that will be, if everyone reaches the checkered flag, that will be third, and Pacini will be second and Buttel with first. Sanders is now running still off the pace of Simpson. Simpson about a second and a half faster. I think Sanders' main aim now is not to get lapped by his teammate, who's currently, as Sanders goes through turn 5, Simpson is just going into turn 3, so the gap between them is not many seconds. It's probably about 7 seconds, so there is a chance that they might get a lapping, but I suppose also with 12 minutes to go, they might try and do one of those staged finishes. Johnny, where they used to do Le Mans, where both the cars come over together, so they could go for that. I'm not sure.
They could.
Be quite good. They need a bit more radio communications, but they are pretty safe on that one. The gap now between Sanders and Buttel is up to 4.6 seconds. That's the battle for second and third, and Jack Buttel will get lapped probably in this next lap or so, because he's both on the main straight going into the main straight, of course, is the back straight. It is slightly longer, the straight from 9 till 10, than the front straight, which is 16 to 1, but neither of them are massively of a great distance. In the Norma Racing team inter-team battle, Marcus Bortolami has not blown the engine up yet, and he's still running the 97 ahead, and he is leading by 27 seconds from Mark Vivo, the Craft Racing car, the 98 car that started faster but suffered quite badly. There's no real polite way of putting this. It suffered quite badly of having Daniel Kerman in the car, who was 8 seconds a lap off the pace. No, it was fine, he's part of the team, but that was really where that was won and lost, because prior to that, if they'd actually genuinely, and I mean this, if they'd actually had been able to run all 3 hours with Francois Kerman in the car, there's a damn good chance they'd have come second, and they certainly would have come third, because they had a pit stop in hand, and they were still ahead at halfway.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't have won, but they made the podium last time due to the attrition of the 22 and the fact that the 4 didn't start. They could have made it on merit. But is it a lot of ifs and buts? The if being they need to have their fastest driver in for 3 hours, which is probably pushing it on a number of reasons, rules, regulations, fitness, that sort of thing. But it's a quick little car when it's piloted correctly, and certainly with its extra fuel consumption advantage within this 3 hour race bracket, it is a very powerful tactical weapon if you can utilise it with your driver lineup.
Max Vive taking chunks of time out of Max Bortolami at this stage. 3 seconds on the previous lap, 4 on this lap.
Ooh, so that might hit something. 24 seconds. Yeah, we've got 5 laps, so it's time to get 5 seconds. It could still be a big grand. Perhaps they want to have a grandstand finish as well and come off the line together.
Well, it might not. Certainly, might not have an opportunity to do the staged photograph. I think Max Bortolami is going to be driving the wheels off that thing for a bit of inter-team success. There is definitely rivalry between the 97 and the 98 down at Craft Racing.
The tracker is telling me that Jack Boutel has been lapped now by Mike Simpson. Can't see it with my actual eyes or anything, but the tracker rarely lies. And if it does, Harold will say it was an error.
Well, at the end of Sector 2, the 4 car reaches it before the 22.
So that has happened. There they come, sweeping into our view. I'm standing up to get into my view as they go around those infield sections of 13, 14 and 15 before they turn back on themselves to the right round. The sharper that looks 15, drift out wide underneath the kind of the apron of the new hotel now before sweeping in through the final turn, which is still turn 16, and down the main straight.
So over the line goes this line of cars on various different laps. Jordan Sanders at the head of this little group, then Max Bortolami, who still leads the CN1 class, but that gap's coming down now. 97 to 98 is about the length of the start-finish straight, Nick, and who's giggling?
I'm sorry,
right.
Right turn lovers really made me laugh, because you know I told the more critical tweeter to look up banter. He's misheard that as look up bantha, which of course was they've got a picture of the sand warrior riding a big bantha creature. Okay. I do love our listeners.
Me too. Where would we be without our listeners?
But it's right. He did use hashtag this is endurance. That's okay. That's fine.
We can read it out then. 97 to 98, the gap is down to 20 seconds now. So another 4 seconds found by Max Vive. Still not quite enough with 7 minutes left on the clock. It was 7 minutes and 7 seconds, which was confusing me for a moment. Into turn 10 goes Max Bortolami. Now, how are the team keeping him informed of the approaching Mark Vive? Are they leaving him to his own devices because some drivers like as little distraction as possible, or are they keeping him constantly informed about this diminishing gap between the CN1 leader and the second placed car in that category? Third place car is still the Radical, so it was a fourth place start for the 3 Kuwaiti pilots. Sadly for them, they've dropped back to 8th and last position. But regardless of which of the 3 we interview, either Salem or the 2 Mohammeds, they've always got massive grins on their faces and just loving being here, I think.
I think they're certainly loving the fact they're getting to run the car for a really good chunk of time and get used to. I think they probably now, what they've got the third race is saying, what we need now is 3 or 4 guys to race around with.
Yeah.
Because they've now we can do an hour. We can do an hour the following day and our arms don't fall off.
Yes.
And they're probably going to find we can do an hour the following afternoon. And now what I want to do is do it with a mate. And hopefully this is what, I think, this is certainly, we're 2/3 the way through this 3x3 hours. It's been significantly better than last year's 3x3 hours. The car's been more reliable. We've had some decent racing. It's been a really well organised, very clean situation. The disappointing thing, and we can't get past it, let's not try and pretend things don't exist. The disappointing thing is we've got 8 cars.
Yeah.
And there's been no growth from last year, and I don't understand why. And I suppose it's really perhaps now with a much more impressive flagship than last year's, given the previous weekend. If Creventic will commit to this weekend again, which is a big commitment because it's another extra 3 days, 4 days circuit rental. Perhaps finally, if you build it, they will come. And they will get 16, 17, 18 P. There's so many P3s out there doing nothing. There's a few of them. How many did we had? 7 at Abu Dhabi.
Yes.
Only one of which is here, which is the craft car. So they're already out in the Middle East. I know it's expensive. I know we have to talk about budgets and everything else. But there's about 1.5 million in Europe now, which could stick on a container. When's the last round of LMP3 racing in Europe? Is that Portimao last one? Yeah, so they can make the trip. So you hope that people who have seen these races and gone, actually, this is really well organised. It's a great place to race. They've got a good competitive balance of performance that people can enjoy. And they will get that kind of, Kevin Spacey, I can't say that word anymore, he's very naughty, but Kevin Costa moment. And when he sees his dad at the baseball field, and suddenly won't see our dad, we'll see 37 prototypes.
Okay. I think I understand
that. Was massively tangential even for me.
Over the line go again, a clump of cars, and this is the two Ginettas together. So Mike Simpson going to try and lap his teammate Jordan Sanders, or are they just trying to do this classic photograph moment where the two cars will cross the line virtually together? Mike Simpson doesn't have to lap Jordan Sanders, and I've seen these moments happen before and them end in disaster. Because the last thing we want to see is the two Ginettas make contact.
There was an F1 race, I can't remember what it was, where Michael Schumacher, someone was trying to give the win to someone else and got it wrong. No, Michael Schumacher was trying to stage a grandstand finish with Rubens Barrichello and got it wrong because Rubens Barrichello was scraped past by 0.01 of a second by accident, and they got the whole thing wrong. And it was very. He had to laugh it off. Oh no, it was fine, but yeah,
Yeah, so they're going to keep it neat and tidy, because this has been a weekend of coming back from adversity a little bit, with the number 4 car virtually written off because of so much damage done by striking a curb of all things. Majorly damaged the tub, but they fixed it, and the car is looking like a race winner now. Mark Vive, splendid drive, 6 seconds gained on his teammate Max Bortolami last time around. He's managed to find another 4 seconds. We're down to the last 3 minutes of this race, but bear in mind the CN1s should get a bit more time. So where is the CN1 class leader now? Just heading into turn 10. And at the start of the middle sector, the gap was 9.6. No, it's less than that, rather. Even more time found, a further 3 seconds. This really is going to be close between Max Bortolami and Max Vive. So they head out of turn 12. Max still ahead of Mark. And there is traffic ahead as well, which includes the AUH Motorsport Radical. Ginettas, though, fan out now to be 2 abreast, and Jordan Sanders is going to allow Mike Simpson through to make sure that the 4 car has now lapped the field. The Ginetta G57 then a clear lap ahead of the number 6 Ginetta. Both cars made by the Yorkshire firm, but we think being run by Gloucestershire outfit Simpson Motorsport. And this is going to be a really good result for those mechanics, those engineers, and the strategists as well, and reward for so much hard work late into the night last night. Jack Butel still leading the P3 category from Giacomo Piccini, and that's by a decent margin as well. The 22 car looking to be on course for Speedworks Motorsport, but CN1 still very much in the balance. 1 minute and 20 seconds to go. 4.8 seconds is now the gap between Max Bortolami and Mark Vive. And Mark Vive really hustling that car on, sensing, smelling victory.
I'm pretty sure that Max Bortolami is not revving the engine of that. I'm sticking to nowhere. I'm not blowing up again. Having done 2 of the last 2 races, he's probably so far in the safe zone of that machine.
Yeah, that's true. That'll be playing on his mind, certainly. They want to get a race finish above all. And certainly don't want to see retirement on the penultimate or final lap. 50 seconds to go, and I think we're going to squeeze an extra lap out of this, because the number 4 car, the leader, is already at turn 13. Should get back to the line inside the next 50 seconds. So it'll make it a 90-lap race for the number 4 Ginetta, driven by Mike Simpson, by Simon Murray, and by Charlie Robertson, who did the opening stint. Into 16 goes the number 4 car then for the penultimate time, and we'll cross the line now, still with Jordan Sanders right on his tail, and the last lap indication lights up on our timing screen. So it will be a showboating affair on this final lap for the 4 and the 6 cars, first and second, but a lap between them. Jack Butel on course for victory in P3, and he has 3/4 of a minute as an advantage over Giacomo Piccini. But what about the fight in CN1? It's going to be Craft Racing, but will it be the 97? Will it be the 98? They're virtually together now as they cross the line and head on to their final lap. And they're going to be separated by the Mild 7 sponsored, no, not really, Radical SR3, the AUH Motorsport car, but surely they've taken inspiration from that livery. And the 97 car leads CN1, but Mark Vive really not very far away now.
1.8 behind, and he's been gaining 3 seconds a lap.
Sometimes, well, 6 seconds a lap. He gained about 3 or 4 laps ago. And Max Bortolami a little bit deep into turn 7 there, feeling the pressure here.
Vive lost some time getting past the Radical, so it's now game on. He's about 2 seconds behind, but he's got only, 10 corners to do it for a victory in CN1 class.
Another message appearing on our screen. The incident involving car 44 is under investigation. That's a drive time potential infringement, which will be looked into.
He's on 152. Didn't know there was a limit. It's a 145 limit you didn't know about.
Maybe.
Massive lock-up there for Bortolami coming into 10. So he came off the end, locked up, lost a huge amount of time, and suddenly from having probably a comfortable leave those last few corners, now not so much. They go sweeping into the back area, but they come back through into turn 12, the right-hander that tightens, and then they fully sweep down to another section of tight. There's very much a naggy infield, and right behind him,
is the number
leader,
98
but
car.
the leader has come across the line, and it is a staged finish, a marvellous photographic miracle for the Ginettas. A car that wasn't even in pieces yesterday. 1 and 2 for the 4 and 6. We go back now, looking at the battle between 97 and 98. Who will emerge victorious? And is still just ahead is Bortolami as they come around the last 2 corners. Vive is sniffing up that. Can he get up in the last corner? Will be a last corner dive pass. He's going up the inside, taking his teammate. No, he backs out of it. I'm sure if that wasn't his teammate, he would have swept up the inside of 16 there. They come down right behind each other. There's going to be a photo finish also for the CN teams, and they cross the line together, but it is 97 who takes the CN by 0.138 of a second. I'm certain that Vives would have shoved it down the inside of 16 if it hadn't been his teammate, Johnny.
Right, and taken him off probably at turn 16. That's always a danger. I mean, you drive like crazy to the end of a 3-hour race. The last thing you want to do is spear up the inside, make contact, and be disqualified from the race. Mark Vive being very conservative there, but what a great race. I mean, between the two Craft Racing cars, I'm sure that's created quite a bit of nail biting for the various guys involved with Craft Racing. A splendid advert for CN1 Racing. We just need more than 3 cars in that class. Let's get some reaction though straight away after a race finish. It's a win for Ginetta and the Simpson Motorsport outfit. Let's get some reaction from Joe Bradley in the pit lane.
Let's get some reaction from Charlie Robertson. Charlie, you came here as a driver coach, and then you were taken on as a driver just this morning, and here you are, race winner. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. The boys worked so hard to get that car finished last night and get it back out on track. So to have it back out and to win the race is amazing. So I'm grateful to them to be able to do that. I'm just happy that I managed to get a drive and to go out there, managed to actually get a good kind of gap at the start, come from the back. It's a fantastic stint, really enjoyed myself. Great circuit, great car. I think I managed to bag fastest lap as well, so very happy.
An all-round team effort, because we heard earlier how you took advice from the team back home at base as to how to effect that repair. So as well as the guys here working on the car, complete team effort from Ginetta and Simpson Motorsport.
Yeah, exactly, and it's paid off, so we're over the moon.
See you on the podium. Thanks, Charlie. Charlie Robertson.
And Joe will see on the podium, because Joe will be conducting the podium ceremony for us in just a few minutes' time. He now has to walk up, which is quite a long way, I found yesterday, to capture the people as they get out of the cars in the Parc Fermé, which they'll just put the top 3 into Parc Fermé, which is Mike Simpson and Jordan Sanders, and then Jack Boutel, of course, in third. But Jack, don't forget, has won his class with the Speedworks Motorsport team. Jacopo Puccini, under investigation, is currently second for a drive time infringement, which is caught us out. We didn't know there was a drive time issue.
I think particularly for that car, because it's only a 2-driver car, Mikhail Broniszewski and Giacomo Puccini, and Puccini will be the pro driver in that. Broniszewski, he's not really a gentleman driver, but nor is he a full-on pro, and I just wonder whether Broniszewski just hasn't been at the wheel for long enough. I'm not sure that
there's the first hour, 57 minutes, isn't he? There's no minute. The other drivers are a lot less on minimum. It must be the maximum drive time for Puccini has gone too far.
So you think it's a maximum breached rather than a minimum not met?
I can only think, and I haven't got the information in front of me, but it may be that they came in before 1 hour was down, so he's done more than 2 hours is the only thing I can think of, because we weren't aware of there being any particular drive time because it hasn't really come up. The top 3 cars are Lion Stern beneath us, all mostly in carbon black actually. There's only very little wrappage on any of them. There's a bit of a red and a sponsor logo on the side of the 22, a small amount of white to make it look Peugeot menacing for our winner, the number 4, but all black in carbon is the 6, and 3 very attractive sports prototypes. It's a design which I think is rather befitting of the eye, these P3s and P3 Plus, or P2s as they're called here. Good looking machines, all of them, in excellent proportion. And something about a closed top sports prototype that just looks right on the whole, especially if it's done well. And
90 laps completed by the number 4 Simpson Motorsport Ginetta, and finishes a lap clear of everybody else, at least a lap clear of everybody else. But Jordan Sanders home in second place to make it a P2 1-2. P3. The first of those cars was the Speedworks Motorsport, rather Ligier, which had such a trying day yesterday with that diff CV joint that failed, or just received a bit too much abuse, I suppose, from the running of that car. And it's not necessarily a problem that Christian Dick and his team had encountered before, but they were able to deal with it and made sure that everything was set for today's race. And the 22 car lasted the distance, and more so, managed to win its class, finishing 3rd overall. Giacomo Piccini and Michael Broniszewski finishing 4th on the road, but now being investigated as far as their driving time is concerned, so result may yet be altered. And CN1 going the way of 97 ahead of the 98 car, with the 177 finishing in 3rd position. Let's head to Parc Fermé and again to Joe.
Yeah, P3 winner, Jack Patel in the number 22 car. A risk of attrition yesterday, but today, here you are, you guys on the podium.
Yeah, it was disappointing yesterday, but yeah, we came back, we've proved that we had the pace, and yeah, brought it on the podium as well as a class win. So yeah, it's been a good day.
There might be a short grid, but you guys know how to race. That was a cracking final stint again.
Yeah, you've got to kind of push as much as I can. Had a great battle with the P2. Tried to catch him, but just tried to hold him off as well, but no chance.
You're not going to stand a chance on the straight, but you're certainly all over them in the corners.
Yeah, I gave him a good run, and he gave me a good run. So yeah, it was a good battle between us, and yeah, it was good.
And now, well, we've got a podium to get through, but I would imagine, being a racing driver, you're already focused on this afternoon.
Yeah. Fingers crossed it's going to be cooler this afternoon. It was a bit hot in the car today, but yeah, it's going to be a lot cooler this afternoon, and yeah, get ready for the race and race through.
Great stuff. Great job, Jack. Well done. Jack Bootle.
Great performance by Jack there, and he's won the class. He may have been slightly hunted down by Jordan Sanders in the fastest car. Andrew Cooksley, writing on Twitter, very kindly reminded me, which was something I needed, that it was the 2002 US Grand Prix where they had the botched finish between Schumacher and Barrichello, the formation finish, and he points out that also featured a mild 7 coloured car, just like this race. Hashtag this endurance. And yeah, that's a bit of putting together 2 completely unrelated facts and making them fit for the race here today. So just to give you a reminder that Mike Simpson in the car number 4 won. Jordan Sanders was second by just about a lap. 16 seconds back with Jack Boutel, who wins the P3 class. Jacopo Piccini currently second in P3, but with a cloud hanging over him. Max Bortolami in the 97 Craft Racing wins CN1. Mark Vives is second in CN1. Riaguas comes 7th overall, but he's 3rd in the class of P3, we think, and Piccini. And then the 177, Salim Al Nusef, AH Motorsport Radical, that was the final runner, 8th and 3rd in CN. And that was a much better race again than you expect.
I was just about to say exactly that. 24H series racing is always entertaining, but I have to say that all 3 of us had kind of thought, okay, 7 cars yesterday, 8 cars today, we might have to do a little bit of filling, because what happened in the start of today's race is that cars were just getting further and further apart. But you add then drivers in of differing experience, differing abilities. It brings everyone back together again. And yeah, okay, the winning car won by a lap and lapped the field. But that fight for second place between Jack Boutel, Giacomo Piccini, Jordan Sanders was thoroughly entertaining for a good half an hour, with I think an hour to go through to half an hour ago. That kept us enthralled. And then the CN1 battle. I mean, we looked at it and it was a 30-second gap. The next time we looked at it was a 15-second gap. And full marks to Mark Vive. He's missed out on a CN1 victory there by by
0.1 of a second.
1.5 tenths.
Yeah,
and
he missed out of it because he wasn't prepared to risk hitting his teammate, basically.
Which you can understand, because there are cars that need to be raced later on today. The last thing we want is to lose 2 of the 8. But splendid battles throughout the field, and all those that have got the success in this 3-hour race are now going to be rewarded with it, because we're going to hand down to Joe Bradley to oversee the podium presentations.
Thank you, Johnny. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Race 2 podium. And fantastic race as ever. Are the teams gathered beneath us yet? That'll do, yeah. Right, here we go. 3rd place first in our race number 2 of our 3-hour prototypes. Are we ready, Peter? Hang on, we have nobody to present the prize. Yes, we have. Hang on. Peter's just told me to stop after telling me to go. We haven't got all the drivers ready. That's what the problem is. Stand by, guys. Right, so if all the drivers make their way up to the driver lounge, and now we'll be getting on with our podium. We're going to announce our overall race podium. No, not at all, Johnny. I've been handed the official placings, the official sheets. I've got the results very swiftly.
Longer than expected.
Yes, that's pretty much. We're ready to go to the podium, but the cats weren't ready. Right.
No, it was just a question mark about the 44, I suppose, and the driving time, but that might be investigated after the podium.
Well, it's down in 6th, so...
Oh, is it?
I know it's a
6th place overall?
Well, it's 2nd in class, though. I think that's going to affect its class position, if anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're ready. Are we ready, Peter?
Do you know whether, for a fact, that it's finished 6th overall, or did you just say that randomly?
No, I know for a fact it's in front of me here.
What's finished 6th overall?
Okay, the 44. The 44's finished 6th, so
it's
they
been
have
given a big penalty.
They have docked it quite a considerable amount of time there.
2 laps or 3 laps, yeah.
Okay, guys, now we're ready. Let's go ahead with our podium for race 2 of our 24H Proto Series. Please welcome to the podium. In 3rd place, it's car 22, the Speedworks Motorsport Ligier of Jack Bootle, Kay van Berlo, and Konstantin Gugiev. Here we go. Well, they're a bit shy. This is the Speedworks drivers, Jack Bootle, Kay van Berlo, Konstantin Gugiev, car 22. In 3rd place. In 2nd place, we have the number 6, yesterday's winner, Simpson Motorsport Ginetta, John Corbett, Neil Muston, and Jordan Sanders. And the winners of our 2nd 24H Proto Series race, car 4, the Simpson Motorsport Ginetta G57, Charlie Robertson, Mike Simpson, Simon Murray, and Jack Murray. And to present our trophy-winning drivers, please welcome to the podium Andre Weber, our racefield engineer from Hankook, and Ole Doleman, our operations manager of the 24H series. And now the national anthem of the winning teams. We see the flags rise. Please take your caps and stand for the national anthem. round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, and congratulations to our podium for our second 24H Proto Series race. Please welcome to the podium to present our trophies, Andrew Webber, our racefield engineer from Hankook Tyres, and Mr. Ole Doleman, operations manager of the 24H Proto Series. Third place to the Speedworks Motorsport Leisure team of Jack Bootle, Kay Van Berlo, and Konstantin Gugiev. Round of applause there, guys. And in second place, that's a first and a second so far for the number 6 Simpson Motorsport Ginetta of John Corbett, Neil Muston and Jordan Sanders. And now the first place trophies to the winner of our second race of the 2018 season. Car number 4, repairing the car after big issues, the Simpson Motorsport Ginetta, Charlie Robertson, Mike Simpson, Simon Murray, and a big round of applause for Jack Murray, who joins us on the podium with his dad, Simon. Hold your trophies in the air, guys. Big round of applause and congratulations for our overall podium. Well done, everybody. Please stay there for our official photographs. And as the 2 Simpson Motorsport team cars and the Speedworks Motorsport Leisure, also class winner in the number 22, our P3 class. And as expected, the 2 P2 cars taking the first 2 steps of the podium. Well done, guys. Our next podium will be for our P2 class. So we're going to welcome back for more trophy presentations the Simpson Motorsport team. So please welcome again back onto the podium for second place in our P2 prototype class, car number 6, Simpson Motorsport Ginetta. Please welcome back John Corbett, Neil Muston and Jordan Sanders. And the winner of our P2 prototype category, the number 4 Simpson Motorsport Ginetta, overall winner as well, Charlie Robertson, Simon Murray and Mike Simpson. And of course, Jack Murray. Congratulations, our P2 class winners, and please welcome to present the trophies. Andrew Webber of Hankook Tyres and Ole Doleman of the 24H Prototype Series. Second place trophies for our P2 class to the number 6 Simpson Motorsport Ginetta. Once again, John Corbett, Neil Muston and Jordan Sanders. And our first place trophies to the number 4 Simpson Motorsport Ginetta team, Charlie Robertson, Mike Simpson, Simon Murray and Jack Murray. A big round of applause. Hold your trophies high, guys. Well done. Overall victory, 1 and 2, and 1 and 2 in the P2 class. Official photographs now. We've got 2 more class podiums for you. Congratulations, our P2 category. And our next podium presentation will be for our P3 category. Please welcome to the third step of the podium. In third place in P3 is car 48, Spirit of Race Ligier, Per Giuseppe Parazzini, Crichton Lendudis, and Marco Ciocci Ruiaguas. But I think it's Ruiaguas in the car this morning. So Per Giuseppe Parazzini, Crichton Lendudis, and Ruiaguas. Well done, guys. Third place in the P3 class. In second place, the number 44, Graf Ligier of Michael Bronzewski and Giacomo Piccini. Congratulations to them, second place in the P3 class. And please welcome back the winners and third place overall, car 22, Speedworks Motorsport Ligier, Jack Bootle, Kay Van Berlo and Konstantin Gugiev. Our P3 podium, ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause. And once again, Andrew Webber of Hankook Tyres and Ole Doleman of the 24H Proto Series will be presenting our trophies. Firstly to the third place P3 team, that's the number 48, Spirit of Race Ligier, Per Giuseppe Perezzini, Crichton Lindudis and Rui Aguas. Third place to them, well done, congratulations. And our second place trophies to the number 44, Graf Ligier, Michael Ronaszewski and Giacomo Piccini. Congratulations, guys. And class winners in P3, Car 22, the Speedworks Motorsport Ligier, Jack Bootle, Kay van Berlo and Konstantin Gugiev. Hold your trophies high in the air for the photograph, guys. Congratulations, our P3 class podium. Well done, congratulations, everyone. Just having our official photographs now, and then we'll be moving on to our final podium of the morning's race. Our next podium, our next category, will be for our CN1 Production Sports Cars class. And please welcome to the podium the AUH Motorsport Radical Team, car 177, Salam Al-Nusif, Mohammed Al-Nusif, and Mohammed Al-Asawi. Well done, guys. Congratulations. In second place, the number 98 Craft Racing Norma of Daniel Kerman, Francois Kerman, and Marco Vives. And it seems only right that the number 97 Craft Racing Norma, after yesterday's nightmare, right at the end, Max Bortolami, David Christini, and Regis Treff, car 97, the Craft Racing Norma wins this morning's race. Trophies once again to be presented by Ola Doleman of the 24H Proto Series and Andre Weber of Hankook Tyres, the race field engineer from Hankook. To our third place in our CM1 class, the AUH Motorsport Radical Team, Salam Al-Nusif, Mohammed Al-Nusif and Mohammed Al-Asawi from Kuwait. Big round of applause for them, well done. And the number 98 Craft Racing Norma finishes in second place, Daniel Kerman, Francois Kerman and Marc Vives. Well done, congratulations for second place. And the winners of our CN1 class, Craft Racing's number 97, their Norma coming in first today, retiring yesterday, Max Bortolami, David Christini and Regis Treff. Congratulations, guys. Lift those trophies high. Just to remind everyone that we are back this afternoon for a 2:30 start to the proceedings with our grid walk and our final 3-hour prototype race of the weekend. So for now, we'll bid you farewell with our CN1 class having their official photographs. Congratulations to everyone today, and we'll see you this afternoon.
Digga, ihr wart so schlecht so, dass ich in den Kotzen sehe.